Welcome, weary travelers of the Grand Line, to the Chronicles of Justice itself, the vast organization that spans every ocean and touches every shore. Tonight, we delve deep into the marine hierarchy, from the humblest chore boy scrubbing deck planks to the mighty fleet admiral commanding fleets that could reshape nations. This is the story of those who wear the seagull upon their caps, who sail beneath banners of justice, and who stand as the world government's sword and shield against the chaos of piracy. Let the steady rhythm of marching boots and distant cannon fire carry you into peaceful dreams as we explore the complete saga of marine power, politics, and the complex souls who serve beneath its flag. The origins of marine authority stretch back through the mists of history to those first tentative moments when scattered kingdoms realized that the vast oceans connecting their shores could serve as highways for both commerce and conquest. In those ancient days, before the world government had consolidated its grip upon the world, individual nations maintained their own naval forces, small fleets that patrolled territorial waters with little coordination beyond their immediate borders. Pirates moved between these fragmented zones of control like phantoms, exploiting the gaps in coverage that inevitably existed when no single authority commanded the seas. It was the recognition of this fundamental weakness that gave birth to what would eventually become the marine organization we know today. The 800 nations that would form the world government understood that their individual naval forces, however skilled or dedicated, could never hope to match the scope and ambition of threats that moved freely across oceanic boundaries. Pirates who could be driven from one kingdom's waters would simply relocate to another's, creating an endless cycle of displacement, rather than true elimination of the threat they represented. The solution that emerged from those early negotiations was as elegant as it was ambitious: a unified naval force that would answer not to any single nation, but to the collective authority of all member states through the world. Government. This marine organization would possess jurisdiction that transcended traditional borders, operating with the backing of international law and the combined resources of hundreds of kingdoms. The white uniforms and distinctive seagull insignia that would become synonymous with marine authority were chosen to represent this universal nature, symbols that would be recognized and respected in every corner of the world. The hierarchical structure that defines marine organization today was not created in a single moment of inspiration, but evolved through centuries of practical experience, each rank and division emerging to address specific needs that became apparent as the organization grew in size and scope. The earliest Marines operated with relatively simple command structures borrowed from existing naval traditions, but the unique demands of global peacekeeping soon required innovations that had never been attempted on such a scale. At the foundation of this great pyramid of authority sits the humble chore boy, a rank that exists in something of a paradox within the marine hierarchy. These young recruits, typically children who have enlisted before reaching adulthood, occupy the 19th highest position within the organization. Yet, their duties remain decidedly unglamorous. The scrubbing of floors, the polishing of weapons, the endless maintenance tasks that keep marine bases functioning, all of these fall to those who wear no insignia save their youth and determination to serve something greater than themselves. The exclusivity of the chore boy rank stems not from its prestige but from its accessibility, available only to those who enlist as children, due to what can only be assumed to be the world government's recognition that certain types of labor are inappropriate for adult recruits. Those who join the Marines after reaching majority skip this foundational experience entirely, moving directly into the Seaman trilogy that represents the true beginning of a Marine career. Kobe and Helmeppo stand as the most prominent examples of chore boys who transcended their humble origins, their stories serving as inspiration for countless young recruits who find themselves wielding mops instead of swords in their first months of service. Their journeys from menial laborers to respected officers demonstrate that the Marine organization, for all its rigid hierarchy, remains fundamentally meritocratic in its approach to advancement. No one begins their career expecting to remain a chore boy forever, yet those who serve in this capacity learn lessons about discipline, dedication, and attention to detail that will serve them throughout their careers. For those who enlist as adults, the Seaman Trilogy provides their introduction to marine life, beginning with Seaman Recruit, the most basic rank available to grown men and women who choose to dedicate their lives to justice. This rank, while hardly prestigious, represents the first step on a journey that could theoretically culminate in the highest positions of marine authority. Django and Fullbody both held this rank at different points in their careers, the former beginning his marine service here after his life as a hypnotist led him to question his previous choices, the latter arriving through the significantly less dignified route of demotion from lieutenant after his arrogance cost him the respect of his superiors. The progression through Seaman Apprentice remains something of a mystery, as no known Marine has been documented holding this intermediate rank long enough to be formally recorded. This curious absence in the historical record suggests either that advancement through this position occurs with unusual rapidity, or that those who occupy it tend to serve in capacities that keep them far from the spotlight that illuminates more senior positions. Perhaps they serve aboard ship where their names never appear in the reports that reach Marine headquarters, or perhaps they occupy administrative roles that, while essential, lack the drama that makes certain Marines legendary. Seaman First Class marks the completion of the opening trilogy, and here we encounter the tragic figure of Lines, a Marine whose brief appearance in the records serves as sobering reminder of the dangers inherent in serving justice. His encounter with the Barati resulted in injuries that may or may not have proven fatal, the ambiguity of his fate reflecting the harsh reality that many Marines who serve with distinction never receive the recognition they deserve. Whether he survived to continue his career or paid the ultimate price for his dedication remains unknown, his story lost in the chaos that surrounds so many Marine operations. The petty officer ranks represent the first real taste of authority that most Marines experience, beginning with simple petty officer and progressing through chief petty officer to master chief petty officer. These positions bridge the gap between the enlisted ranks and true command positions, carrying responsibilities that require both the technical expertise of experienced sailors and the leadership skills necessary to guide less experienced personnel. Ashija holds the distinction of being one of the few chief petty officers whose name has been preserved in Marine records, though his fame comes from tragedy rather than triumph. His encounter with Gecko Moria resulted in the theft of his shadow, leaving him among the victims of that warlord's twisted experiments. The irony of his name, which translates to "It's morning," stands in stark contrast to the darkness that befell him. Yet another example of how Oda's naming conventions often reflect the circumstances surrounding a character's most significant moments. Master Chief Petty Officer represents the highest of the petty officer ranks, and it was here that Tashigi began her Marine career when we first encountered her in Logtown. Her progression from this relatively modest beginning to her current position demonstrates the opportunities available to those who combine skill with dedication. Though her journey has not been without its challenges, the authority that comes with Master Chief Petty Officer rank marks the first time Marines are entrusted with significant decision-making power, their choices capable of affecting not just individual missions, but the lives and careers of those who serve under them. Warrant Officer exists as something of an anomaly within Marine ranks, a position that theoretically bridges enlisted personnel and commissioned officers, but which remains largely undefined in terms of actual responsibilities and authority. The absence of any known warrant officers in Marine records suggests either that this rank serves primarily administrative functions that keep its holders away from the dramatic events that define most Marine careers, or that those who achieve this position quickly move on to higher ranks where their contributions become more visible. The theoretical warrant officer Mario, with his distinctive red cap and apparent obsession with conspiracy theories, represents the kind of colorful personality that might occupy such a position, his eccentricities perhaps making him unsuitable for more prominent roles, while his underlying competence keeps him valuable to the organization. The fact that warrant officer marks the beginning of commissioned officer status means that even this somewhat mysterious rank carries real authority and responsibility within the Marine hierarchy. Ensign represents the first major milestone in any Marine career, marking the transition from follower to leader, from someone who executes orders to someone who gives them. Notable ensigns like Marco the Marine, whose dedication to capturing the Straw Hat Pirates was so intense it earned him inclusion in official Marine documentation, demonstrate the level of commitment expected from officers at this level. Even relatively minor Marines like Marco merit recognition when their service exemplifies the values the organization seeks to promote. The Lieutenant Trilogy begins with Lieutenant Junior grade, a position that requires both tactical knowledge and leadership ability, while still providing room for growth and learning. Ripper held this rank during the early days of his career, before circumstances elevated him to positions of greater responsibility and authority. The progression through lieutenant to lieutenant commander represents steady advancement through the middle ranks of Marine officership, each step requiring demonstrated competence and the respect of both superiors and subordinates. Fullbody's journey through these ranks serves as an object lesson in how personal conduct affects professional advancement. His demotion from full lieutenant to seaman recruit following his poor behavior at the Bharati created a cautionary tale that has likely been recounted in Marine academies for years afterward. Yet his eventual rehabilitation and promotion to lieutenant commander alongside Django and Helmeppo proves that the Marine organization, while demanding high standards, also believes in redemption and second chances for those willing to learn from their mistakes. Lieutenant Commander represents a significant level of authority within the Marine hierarchy, with officers at this rank often commanding their own vessels or serving as executive officers on larger ships. The fact that all three members of the Django Fullbody Helmeppo trio eventually achieved this rank speaks to both their individual growth and the Marine organization's commitment to developing officers who demonstrate genuine dedication to improvement. Commander stands as one of the most important ranks within the Marine structure, representing the first position where officers are routinely entrusted with independent command of significant assets and personnel. Ripper's elevation to base commander at Shellstown following Morgan's disgrace demonstrates how quickly circumstances can elevate competent officers when situations demand new leadership. The domino effect that led from a small girl's rice balls to the toppling of a corrupt Marine dictator and Ripper's subsequent promotion illustrates how seemingly minor events can have far-reaching consequences within the organization. Don Quixote Rocinante held commander rank during his deep cover mission within the Don Quixote family, his service representing one of the most dangerous and emotionally complex assignments in Marine history. His willingness to maintain his cover even unto death, protecting both his mission objectives and the innocent life of Trafalgar Law, exemplifies the kind of sacrifice that Marines at this level are sometimes called upon to make. His story serves as a reminder that true heroism often occurs far from the spotlight, in moments where the only witness is one's own conscience. Hibari's current position as commander reflects the trust placed in newer generation Marines who have proven themselves through dedication and competence. The fact that she has achieved this rank while maintaining her commitment to non-lethal methods demonstrates that the Marine organization can accommodate diverse approaches to justice, provided they remain effective in achieving the organization's broader objectives. Captain represents the first truly senior rank within the Marine hierarchy, marking the point where officers begin to play integral roles in major military operations and strategic decision-making. The captains who participated in the Enies Lobby Buster Call, Shu with his rust-based powers that could destroy even legendary swords, Sharinguru with his ability to transform into wheels, and Very Good with his sphere-based capabilities, demonstrated the level of individual strength expected from officers at this rank. The captains who currently hold this position, including Kobe and Tashigi, represent the future of Marine leadership, their diverse backgrounds and approaches to justice reflecting the organization's evolution in response to changing global circumstances. Kobe's transformation from timid ship's boy to confident captain serves as inspiration for Marines throughout the organization, while Tashigi's technical expertise and moral clarity provide a model for professional excellence. The apparent inconsistency in standards for captain rank, exemplified by figures like Nezumi from the Arlong Arc, highlights one of the ongoing challenges facing Marine leadership. Officers like Nezumi, who lack combat ability but somehow achieve captain rank, suggest either that different regions maintain different standards or that non-combat specialties can qualify individuals for positions typically associated with military prowess. This tension between diverse skill sets and traditional military hierarchy continues to influence discussions about Marine organization and promotion policies. Commodore marks the point where Marines begin to enjoy what might generously be termed liberal uniform privileges, the organization's recognition that senior officers have earned the right to express some degree of personal style within the constraints of military protocol. Commodore Brannew's fashionable black and blue button-up suggests someone who takes his responsibilities seriously while maintaining enough personality to be approachable to subordinates and colleagues. His role in managing bounty poster distribution demonstrates that even positions focused on administrative duties require officers of considerable competence and judgment. Commodore Pudding. Pudding's distinctive appearance, with his augmented marine coat and neon green cravat, pushes the boundaries of military fashion while remaining within the acceptable parameters for senior officers. His collection of ponytails, grown from a single tail in his youth to multiple arrangements in his current position, represents a personal quirk that might be discouraged in junior ranks, but is tolerated or even celebrated among those who have proven their worth through years of dedicated service. The legendary Commodore Yarasugi of G5 represents perhaps the ultimate expression of senior officer fashion freedom. His combination of golden knee-high greaves, pink shorts, spotted black and white top, fur coat, bow tie, and 3-star buttons creating an ensemble that defies easy description. His willingness to use extreme methods, such as attempting to burn caribou at the stake like some sort of swamp witch, demonstrates that unconventional appearance often accompanies unconventional approaches to justice and order maintenance. The diversity of assignments available to Commodores reflects the organization's recognition that different talents require different applications. Brannew's specialization in administrative duties, managing the complex logistics of bounty poster creation and distribution, proves that strength alone does not determine advancement at senior levels. The Marine organization has learned to value specialized expertise, understanding that effective leadership requires matching individual capabilities with appropriate responsibilities. Rear Admiral marks the beginning of the Admiral tier, the rarefied heights of Marine hierarchy, where individual officers begin to command significant resources and influence policy at the highest levels. Hina's position as Rear Admiral, along with her command of the Black Cage Corps, demonstrates the trust placed in officers who reach this level. Her Special Forces unit operates with authorities and capabilities that remain largely classified, their missions requiring both exceptional skill and absolute discretion. Prince Grus and Kujaku represent a new generation of Rear Admirals. Their relatively young ages for such senior positions, suggesting either exceptional talent or changing organizational needs that require rapid advancement of promising officers. Prince Grus's ongoing rivalry with Kobe, despite the significant difference in their ranks, reflects the unique dynamics that exist within specialized units like SWORD, where traditional hierarchies may be modified by operational necessities. Bogard's suspected Rear Admiral status, inferred primarily from his constant presence behind Garp and his apparent authority in various situations, illustrates how some Marines prefer to exercise their influence from positions that attract less public attention. His role as Garp's trusted subordinate and advisor demonstrates that not all senior officers seek the spotlight, some choosing instead to support more prominent figures, while maintaining their own significant authority behind the scenes. X-Drake's journey from Rear Admiral to undercover pirate captain represents one of the most complex career paths in Marine history. His membership in SWORD allowing him to operate outside traditional command structures while maintaining his essential loyalty to Marine principles. His dual identity, as both Marine officer and worst-generation pirate, required psychological resilience and tactical thinking of the highest order, demonstrating the kinds of extraordinary missions that senior Marines may be called upon to undertake. Vice Admiral represents the highest regularly occupied rank within the Marine hierarchy, a position of such authority and responsibility that those who achieve it are routinely entrusted with command of entire regions and major military installations. The fact that 26 Vice Admirals have been documented in Marine records speaks to both the global scope of Marine operations and the organization's commitment to maintaining senior leadership presence in every critical area of operation. Smoker's elevation to Vice Admiral and command of G5 demonstrates how field experience and proven leadership ability can elevate officers to positions of significant authority. His reputation for uncompromising pursuit of pirates, combined with his growing understanding of moral complexity in Marine operations, makes him representative of the kind of leader the organization needs as it faces increasingly sophisticated challenges to global order. The requirement that all Vice Admirals possess basic mastery of both observation and armament haki ensures that officers at this level can operate effectively against the most dangerous threats in the world. This universal standard reflects the organization's understanding that senior positions require not just administrative skill but personal combat capability, sufficient to handle situations that might arise when commanding operations against powerful adversaries. Garp's choice to remain at Vice Admiral rank rather than accept promotion to Admiral demonstrates that even within the rigid hierarchy of Marine organization, individuals can sometimes exercise control over their own career trajectories. His refusal to serve directly under World Noble authority represents a principled stand that the organization has chosen to accommodate rather than force, recognizing that his value as a symbol and leader transcends traditional rank structures. The various G-base commands distributed among Vice Admirals create a network of regional authority that allows the Marine Organization to maintain effective presence across all the world's oceans. Each base represents a center of marine power, adapted to local conditions and challenges, their commanders enjoying considerable autonomy in determining how best to maintain order within their areas of responsibility. Fleet Admiral stands alone at the apex of marine hierarchy, a single position carrying ultimate authority over the entire organization and direct responsibility to the world government for maintaining global order. The transition from Sengoku to Sakazuki, following the Paramount War, marked a significant shift in organizational philosophy, the change from measured wisdom to aggressive absolute justice, reflecting broader changes in how the world government views its relationship with pirates and other threats to established order. The isolation that comes with Fleet Admiral rank cannot be understated. While lower-ranking officers can rely on peers and superiors for guidance and support, the Fleet Admiral must make decisions that affect millions of lives with only the 5 Elder Stars as higher authority. This burden of ultimate responsibility has shaped every individual who has held the position, their personalities, and approaches to leadership influenced by the knowledge that their choices will reverberate throughout the world. The administrative demands of Fleet Admiral rank require skills that may be quite different from those that earned promotion through lower ranks. Combat ability, while still important, becomes secondary to strategic thinking, political acumen, and the kind of broad perspective necessary to coordinate operations across multiple seas and countless subordinate commanders. The transition from active field commander to Supreme Administrator represents one of the most challenging aspects of achieving the highest Marine rank. Commander-in-Chief stands technically above Fleet Admiral, though this position transcends the Marine organization to encompass authority over all world government military forces. Kong's elevation to this unique rank reflects a career of exceptional service and demonstrates that even within the highly structured Marine hierarchy, truly extraordinary individuals can achieve positions that exist outside normal organizational boundaries. The relationship between ranks, while clearly defined in theory, often proves more complex in practice, with factors like specialized expertise, personal relationships, and operational necessity creating informal hierarchies that may differ from official organizational charts. The Marine organization has learned to accommodate these complexities while maintaining the clear command structure necessary for effective military operations. Training regimens for each rank reflect both the technical skills required for specific positions and the leadership development necessary for continued advancement. Young Marines learn not just how to fight and follow orders, but how to think strategically, how to inspire others, and how to balance competing demands that become increasingly complex as they rise through the hierarchy. The regional variations in how ranks are interpreted and applied reflect the practical challenges of maintaining consistent standards across vast geographical distances and diverse cultural contexts. What works for Marine operations in the calm waters of East Blue may prove inadequate for the dangerous conditions of the New World, requiring local commanders to adapt their approaches while maintaining adherence to fundamental organizational principles. The stories of individual Marines at every level of the hierarchy demonstrate that rank alone does not determine a person's impact on the organization or the world. Chore boys who show exceptional dedication may find themselves fast-tracked for advancement, while senior officers who fail to maintain standards may find their careers stalled or even reversed. The Marine organization remains fundamentally committed to meritocracy, even as it recognizes that merit can take many different forms. In the vast annals of Marine history, no position has carried greater burden or wielded more influence than that of Fleet Admiral. the singular authority who commands the mightiest military force the world has ever known. These individuals stand at the convergence of political necessity and military might, their decisions rippling across oceans to shape the destinies of nations and the lives of countless souls who look to the Marines for protection from the chaos that perpetually threatens to engulf their world. The story of Marine leadership begins in shadows and speculation, reaching back through generations to times when the current order was young and the systems we now take for granted were still being forged in the crucible of necessity. Kong represents the deepest mystery in this lineage, a figure whose very existence challenges our understanding of human longevity and whose career spans epochs that most would consider ancient history. His rise through the ranks occurred during an era when the world government itself was consolidating power, when the network of member nations was still learning how to coordinate their individual strengths into a unified force capable of maintaining global order. To appreciate Kong's significance, one must first understand the magnitude of time his career encompasses. Born in an age when current legends were not yet born, when Gol D. Roger was still a child dreaming of adventure rather than a man reshaping the world through his very existence. Kong witnessed the transition from one era to another with the patience of someone for whom decades pass like seasons. His promotion through the ranks coincided with the Marine organization's own evolution from a collection of national naval forces into the streamlined hierarchy that now spans every ocean. The physical demands of maintaining active duty at Kong's advanced age speak to reserves of strength and determination that border on the superhuman. While most individuals would have long since retired to comfortable positions far from the dangers of military service, Kong continued to serve with the kind of dedication that transforms mere duty into something approaching religious devotion. His muscles, still impressive despite the passage of so many years, suggest training regimens that would challenge Marines a fraction of his age, a daily commitment to physical excellence that mirrors his unwavering dedication to the principles he has served for nearly a century. Kong's tenure as Fleet Admiral occurred during some of the most turbulent periods in recent history. His leadership tested by threats that few could have imagined when he first donned the Marine uniform. The rise of the Rocks pirates represented a challenge to world order that went beyond simple piracy to encompass existential threats to the very foundations of civilization. Rocks D. Xebeck's ambition to overthrow the world government and establish himself as king of the world required response from someone who understood both the tactical necessities of military confrontation and the broader implications of allowing such a vision to succeed. The Battle of God Valley stands as perhaps the defining moment of Kong's career, though his role in those events remains frustratingly obscured by the official silence that has surrounded that conflict. While Garp and Roger received credit for Rock's defeat, Kong's position as Fleet Admiral meant that he bore ultimate responsibility for coordinating whatever Marine response contributed to that victory. The strategic decisions that led to the battle's outcome, the allocation of resources and personnel that made victory possible, the political maneuvering that allowed Marines to operate alongside pirates in service of a greater good, all of these fell under Kong's authority and reflected his judgment as Supreme Commander. The mystery surrounding God Valley's disappearance adds another layer to Kong's legacy, raising questions about what role the Marines played not just in the battle itself but in its aftermath. The complete erasure of an island from both maps and memory suggests capabilities that go far beyond conventional military action, implying either technologies or alliances that remain classified even decades after the fact. Kong's knowledge of these events, his understanding of what truly transpired during those crucial hours, represents information that could reshape current understanding of both Marine capabilities and world government authority. The Ed War incident provided another test of Kong's leadership, though this challenge came not from external threats, but from the internal pressure of dealing with a legendary pirate's assault on Marine headquarters itself. Shiki's single-handed invasion of Marineford represented the kind of audacious attack that could have shattered Marine morale and credibility if not handled with both overwhelming force and careful political messaging. Kong's coordination of the response, working alongside Sengoku to contain and defeat the Golden Lion, demonstrated the kind of crisis management skills that define effective leadership at the highest levels. The political dimensions of Kong's role as Fleet Admiral cannot be understated, his position requiring him to balance the often competing demands of military necessity and world government policy. The Five Elder Stars' expectations for marine performance existed in constant tension with the practical realities of global peacekeeping, creating situations where Kong had to navigate between impossible demands and insufficient resources. His ability to maintain marine effectiveness while satisfying his political superiors represents a form of leadership that transcends pure military skill to encompass the kind of diplomatic acumen rarely associated with combat. Commanders. Kong's relationship with his subordinate admirals reveals much about his approach to leadership and his understanding of how to maximize the effectiveness of exceptional individuals while maintaining organizational coherence. Working with figures like Sengoku required a delicate balance between granting sufficient autonomy to allow their talents to flourish and maintaining enough oversight to ensure their actions aligned with broader strategic objectives. The trust he placed in his admirals, combined with his willingness to take ultimate responsibility for their decisions, created an environment where excellence could develop while accountability remained clear. The transition from Fleet Admiral to Commander-in-Chief marked not retirement but elevation to an even more demanding position, one that required Kong to expand his perspective from marine operations to encompass all world government military forces. This promotion recognized not just his exceptional service record, but his unique qualifications for overseeing the complex web of organizations that maintain global order. Cypherpol, the various special forces units, the intelligence networks that operate in shadows. All of these fell under his authority, requiring him to master forms of warfare that extend far beyond conventional military engagement. Kong's current residence in Mariéchois places him at the very heart of world government power, his daily interactions with the Celestial Dragons and Five Elder Stars, providing him with perspectives on global politics that few others possess. The massive office that serves as his headquarters, complete with aquarium containing creatures that most would consider mythical, reflects both his elevated status and the resources at his disposal. The sharks, eels, whales, and kraken that populate his aquatic display serve as constant reminders of the oceanic domain over which he maintains authority, their presence suggesting that even in the rarefied atmosphere of the Holy Land, Kong maintains connection to the maritime world that has defined his entire career. The intelligence that guides Kong's decision-making encompasses information streams that most Marines never imagine exist. His access to classified reports and strategic assessments, allowing him to perceive patterns and connections that remain invisible to those operating at lower levels of authority. The coordination required to maintain effective responses to threats that span multiple seas and involve diverse organizations demands the kind of broad perspective that can only come from decades of experience, combined with access to the most sensitive information available to world government. Leadership. Sengoku the Buddha represents a different model of Fleet Admiral leadership. His approach to command characterized by the thoughtful deliberation suggested by his epithet and the balanced judgment that earned him respect from subordinates and enemies alike. His rise through the marine ranks followed a more conventional trajectory than Kong's epic journey. Yet his achievements in the role demonstrated that wisdom could be as effective as raw power in maintaining global order and inspiring organizational excellence. The nickname Buddha proved prophetic in ways that extended beyond simple reference to Sengoku's devil fruit abilities, his leadership style embodying the kind of patient wisdom and moral clarity associated with enlightened teaching. His decisions as Fleet Admiral reflected deep consideration of their implications, not just for immediate tactical success, but for the long-term health of both the Marine organization and the world it served. The balance he maintained between competing demands and conflicting interests demonstrated a form of leadership that transcended mere military command to encompass something approaching philosophical guidance. Sengoku's partnership with Garp represented one of the most effective collaborations in marine history, their friendship providing a foundation for the kind of trust and mutual support that made their combined leadership far more effective than either could have achieved alone. The complementary nature of their skills, Sengoku's strategic brilliance paired with Garp's intuitive heroism, created a command structure that could respond effectively to threats ranging from individual pirates to global conspiracies. Their ability to work together despite occasionally differing approaches to justice demonstrated the kind of mature leadership that puts organizational effectiveness above personal ego. The challenges Sengoku faced during his tenure as Fleet Admiral tested every aspect of his leadership abilities, from the routine management of global peacekeeping operations to crisis response during events that threatened the stability of the world order itself. His handling of the various threats that emerged during his command demonstrated both tactical acumen and strategic vision, his decisions consistently reflecting understanding that immediate victories meant nothing if they came at the cost of long-term organizational integrity or moral authority. The Ohara incident stands as perhaps the most morally complex challenge of Sengoku's career. His involvement in the Buster Call that destroyed the archaeological haven, raising questions about the balance between following orders and protecting innocent lives. His role in authorizing the operation that claimed so many civilian casualties demonstrated the terrible weight of command responsibility, the way that Fleet Admiral decisions can result in tragedies that haunt both the individuals who make them and the organizations they lead. The justifications offered for such extreme action, preventing dangerous knowledge from spreading, maintaining world stability, reflect the kind of impossible calculations that define leadership at the highest levels. Sengoku's approach to managing the Shichibukai system revealed his understanding of political complexity and his willingness to work within imperfect systems when they served larger purposes. The warlord arrangement represented compromise between idealistic desires for perfect justice and pragmatic recognition that some problems could be managed more effectively through cooperation than confrontation. His supervision of these dangerous individuals required constant vigilance and careful calculation, balancing the benefits they provided against the risks they represented to both marine personnel and civilian populations. The development of marine doctrine during Sengoku's tenure reflected his commitment to institutional excellence and his recognition that effective peacekeeping required more than individual heroics or overwhelming force. The training programs, strategic frameworks, and operational procedures that emerged under his leadership created foundations that would serve the organization long after his retirement. His investment in developing future leaders, his mentorship of promising officers, his attention to the details of military education, all of these demonstrated understanding that lasting success required building systems rather than relying on exceptional individuals. Sengoku's management of public relations and marine reputation revealed his sophisticated understanding of how military organizations must operate within broader social and political contexts. The marine image as protector of innocent civilians, defender of justice, and bulwark against chaos, required careful cultivation and constant maintenance. His decisions about which operations to publicize, which victories to celebrate, and which failures to acknowledge reflected deep appreciation for the role that public confidence plays in military effectiveness. The Paramount War represented the ultimate test of Sengoku's leadership, challenging every aspect of his strategic thinking and forcing him to coordinate the largest military operation in recent marine history. The decision to execute Portgas D. Ace publicly served multiple purposes, eliminating a dangerous symbol of Roger's legacy, demonstrating marine power to potential threats, and providing closure to the Roger era that had haunted world politics for decades. Yet the complexity of the operation, involving coordination between admirals, warlords, and countless subordinate commanders, required the kind of comprehensive planning that only someone with Sengoku's experience and judgment could manage effectively. The personal cost of the Paramount War for Sengoku cannot be understated, his decision to retire following the conflict reflecting not just physical exhaustion, but emotional and spiritual depletion that comes from bearing ultimate responsibility for such massive violence and destruction. The site of Marineford in ruins, the casualty reports that included both Marines and pirates, the political aftermath that would reshape global power structures. All of these weighed heavily on someone whose entire career had been dedicated to maintaining order and protecting innocent lives. Sengoku's transition to Inspector General following his retirement as Fleet Admiral demonstrated his continued commitment to marine institutional health and his understanding that effective leadership sometimes means accepting responsibility for investigating and correcting organizational failures. His new role, focused on rooting out corruption and ensuring adherence to proper procedures, reflects recognition that even the most dedicated organizations require internal oversight to maintain their effectiveness and moral authority. The philosophical differences that led to the 10-day battle on Punk Hazard represent one of the most significant moments in marine history, the conflict between Aokiji and Akainu serving as proxy for broader debates about the nature of justice and the proper role of military force in maintaining global order. This battle was not merely personal rivalry or simple power struggle, but fundamental disagreement about how Marines should respond to an increasingly chaotic world and what sacrifices were acceptable in pursuit of perfect security. Kuzan's approach to justice, characterized by the lazy epithet that masked deep moral consideration and careful evaluation of each situation's unique circumstances, represented one vision of how marine authority should be exercised. His reluctance to use maximum force when lesser measures might suffice, his consideration for civilian casualties and collateral damage, his willingness to bend rules when rigid application would result in greater injustice. All of these reflected a philosophy that valued moral complexity over simple efficiency. Sakazuki's absolute justice philosophy stood in stark contrast to Kuzan's measured approach, his conviction that evil must be eliminated completely and without compromise, reflecting different understanding of what marine duty required in an imperfect world. His willingness to sacrifice individual lives for broader strategic goals, his insistence that half measures only delayed rather than solved fundamental problems, his belief that marine authority must be exercised decisively and without hesitation. These principles represented another valid interpretation of what justice demanded from those sworn to protect it. The choice of Punk Hazard as battleground for their conflict proved symbolically appropriate. The island's harsh environment and dangerous conditions providing a suitable arena for testing competing philosophies under the most extreme circumstances possible. The 10 days of continuous combat that followed demonstrated not just the physical capabilities of both combatants, but their psychological endurance and unwavering commitment to their respective visions of proper Marine leadership. The aftermath of Sakazuki's victory reshaped the Marine organization in ways that continue to influence operations and policy years later. His elevation to Fleet Admiral, marking a fundamental shift toward more aggressive approaches to threat elimination and order maintenance. The promotion of Fujitora and Ryokugu to fill vacant admiral positions reflected his commitment to recruiting individuals whose capabilities matched the demanding standards he believed necessary for protecting global stability. Sakazuki's leadership style as Fleet Admiral represents a dramatic departure from his predecessors' approaches. His emphasis on overwhelming response to threats and zero tolerance for anything that might undermine Marine authority, creating an organizational culture focused on decisive action rather than careful deliberation. The relocation of Marine headquarters to the New World demonstrated his commitment to taking the fight directly to the most dangerous pirates rather than waiting for threats to develop and spread. The political challenges Sakazuki faces in his role as Fleet Admiral reflect the complex relationship between military leadership and civilian oversight that defines all democratic institutions, even those operating within the world government's authoritarian framework. His frequent frustrations with 5 Elder Star directives and World Noble demands reveal the tension between his desire to eliminate all threats to order and the political realities that constrain even supreme military authority. The personal toll of absolute justice philosophy on Sakazuki himself remains largely hidden beneath his stern exterior, though occasional glimpses suggest that the weight of making decisions that result in massive casualties and civilian displacement affects him more deeply than he allows others to see. The isolation that comes with his position, the responsibility for outcomes that affect millions of lives, the constant pressure to maintain perfect security in an imperfect world, all of these combine to create burdens that would crush less dedicated individuals. The legacy each Fleet Admiral leaves extends far beyond their immediate tenure in office, their decisions and approaches to leadership influencing Marine culture and effectiveness for generations after their retirement or death. Kong's example of unwavering service across multiple decades, Sengoku's demonstration of wisdom and moral balance, Sakazuki's commitment to absolute principles, each provides different models for future leaders to study and adapt to their own circumstances and challenges. The evolution of Fleet Admiral leadership reflects broader changes in global politics and the nature of threats facing world stability. Each successive leader adapting their approach to address emerging challenges while maintaining the core Marine mission of protecting innocent civilians and maintaining order. The flexibility demonstrated by the organization in accommodating different leadership styles while preserving institutional continuity speaks to the strength of Marine foundations and the effectiveness of systems developed over centuries of continuous operation. The future of Fleet Admiral leadership remains unwritten. The challenges facing Sakazuki and his eventual successors likely to test Marine capabilities and resolve in ways that previous generations could never have imagined. The approaching conflicts hinted at in ancient prophecies, the revolutionary movements gaining strength across multiple regions, the technological advances that could reshape the nature of warfare itself. All of these will require leadership that combines the best aspects of previous Fleet Admiral approaches while developing new strategies appropriate to unprecedented circumstances. In the pantheon of marine power, no positions command greater respect or inspire more fear than those held by the 3 admirals. Individuals whose very presence can shift the balance of entire conflicts and whose decisions carry weight sufficient to reshape the political landscape of nations. These are not merely military officers, but living embodiments of the world government's ultimate authority, their powers so devastating that their deployment represents the final argument in any dispute that cannot be resolved through lesser means. The original triumvirate of admirals, Sakazuki, Kuzan, and Borsellino, represented three distinct approaches to the application of overwhelming force in service of justice, their individual philosophies, reflecting different aspects of what it means to wield power responsibly while serving an institution that demands absolute loyalty to principles that may sometimes conflict with personal morality. Each brought to their position unique perspectives shaped by their individual journeys through the Marine hierarchy, their experiences forging them into weapons of such precision and devastation that their very names became synonymous with inevitable victory. Sakazuki's absolute justice philosophy emerged from a worldview that recognized no middle ground between order and chaos. His conviction that evil must be eliminated completely and without compromise, reflecting deep understanding of how small compromises could grow into catastrophic failures of will. His magma-based abilities served as perfect metaphor for his approach to problem solving, the searing heat and unstoppable flow of molten rock representing his belief that justice, once set in motion, should burn away all obstacles until nothing remained but pure order. The psychological foundations of Sakazuki's extremism can be traced through his career, each encounter with pirates who escape justice through technicalities or mercy, strengthening his conviction that half measures served only to delay rather than prevent greater tragedies. His participation in the Ohara Buster Call, his willingness to sacrifice civilian lives when they might serve as cover for escaping criminals, his insistence that Marine officers who showed weakness deserved punishment. All of these reflected systematic philosophy rather than simple cruelty or bloodthirsty nature. The tactical applications of Sakazuki's devil fruit abilities made him perhaps the most feared individual combatant in Marine service. His magma attacks capable of melting through virtually any defense, while his ability to transform his body into molten rock provided both offensive capabilities and defensive advantages that few opponents could match. The psychological impact of facing someone whose very touch could incinerate flesh and bone added another dimension to his effectiveness, many enemies surrendering rather than risk experiencing the agonizing death that his powers promised. Sakazuki's approach to leadership emphasized discipline and unwavering commitment to Marine principles, his expectations for subordinates reflecting the same absolute standards he applied to himself. Officers serving under his command learned quickly that excuses, explanations, and mitigating circumstances carried little weight when results fell short of perfect execution. This demanding leadership style produced some of the most effective Marine units in the organization, their performance driven by a combination of inspiration and fear that motivated extraordinary dedication to duty. The promotion of Sakazuki to Fleet Admiral following his victory over Kuzan at Punk Hazard marked a fundamental shift in Marine organizational culture, his elevation bringing absolute justice philosophy to the highest levels of command and influencing policy decisions that affected Marine operations across all seas. His relocation of Marine headquarters to the New World demonstrated his commitment to aggressive engagement with threats, rather than reactive responses to problems that had already developed into crises. Kuzan's lazy justice approach represented a completely different interpretation of what Marine duty required, his philosophical foundation resting on recognition that rigid application of rules without consideration for circumstances could result in outcomes that contradicted the spirit of justice, even while following its letter. His ice-based powers served as counterpoint to Sakazuki's fire, the freezing cold that could preserve and protect as easily as it could destroy, reflecting his more measured approach to using force in service of order. The experiences that shaped Kuzan's worldview included encounters with situations where marine regulations conflicted with obvious moral imperatives. His participation in events like the Ohara incident, providing first-hand exposure to the tragic consequences that could result from following orders without questioning their broader implications. His decision to spare Nico Robin despite direct orders to eliminate all survivors demonstrated his willingness to prioritize human compassion over institutional loyalty. When the two came into irreconcilable conflict, Kuzan's combat abilities made him arguably the most versatile of the original admirals. His ice powers, offering both devastating offensive capabilities and sophisticated defensive options that allowed him to control battlefields while minimizing collateral damage to innocent bystanders. His ability to freeze entire sections of ocean, create massive ice constructs for tactical advantage, and flash freeze opponents while leaving them technically alive, provided him with options that his colleagues' more destructive abilities could not match. The leadership style Kuzan developed during his admiral tenure emphasized thoughtful consideration of each situation's unique circumstances, his subordinates learning to appreciate the careful analysis that preceded his decisions, even when that analysis resulted in choices that seemed to contradict standard marine protocols. This approach produced officers who understood the difference between following orders blindly and serving justice intelligently, their training preparing them for the complex moral calculations that define effective peacekeeping in an imperfect world. Kuzan's eventual departure from the Marines following his defeat at Punk Hazard represented one of the most significant losses in organizational history. His resignation removing from Marine ranks an officer whose unique perspective and capabilities had provided crucial balance to the institution's approach to global peacekeeping. His subsequent alliance with Blackbeard added another layer of complexity to an already tragic situation, raising questions about whether the Marine organization could accommodate the kind of moral flexibility that effective justice sometimes required. Borsellino's unclear justice philosophy occupied a middle ground between his colleagues' more defined approaches, his apparent indifference to ideological debates masking sophisticated understanding of how to apply overwhelming force selectively and efficiently without becoming emotionally invested in outcomes beyond immediate tactical objectives. His light-based abilities made him potentially the most powerful of all admirals in terms of raw speed and destructive capability, yet his application of these powers consistently demonstrated restraint that suggested deeper wisdom than his casual demeanor revealed. The technological incompetence that Borsellino displayed in various situations served as a reminder that even individuals capable of moving at light speed could struggle with concepts and devices that seemed elementary to others. His difficulties with communication equipment and tactical systems providing humanizing touches that made his overwhelming power seem less intimidating to subordinates and colleagues. This apparent weakness may have been strategic choice, a way of maintaining approachable personality despite possessing abilities that could theoretically eliminate most threats before opponents realized combat had begun. Borsellino's tactical approach to admiral duties emphasized precision and efficiency over dramatic displays of power. His interventions typically focused on achieving specific objectives with minimum necessary force rather than making statements about marine authority or personal capability. This professional approach to violence distinguished him from colleagues whose fighting styles reflected their personal philosophies about justice and order, his combat techniques serving purely functional purposes rather than ideological ones. The leadership challenges Borsellino faced as Admiral reflected his position as the most senior of the original trio in terms of experience and institutional knowledge, his perspective on marine operations informed by longer service record and broader exposure to different aspects of organizational culture. His ability to work effectively with both Sakazuki's absolute approach and Kuzan's flexible methods demonstrated diplomatic skills that complemented his combat abilities, his presence often serving to moderate tensions between colleagues whose philosophical differences might otherwise have created operational difficulties. The world draft that followed the Paramount War represented unprecedented expansion of admiral recruitment, the Marine organization's recognition that traditional promotion processes could not fill vacant positions quickly enough to address emerging threats to global stability. This dramatic departure from established protocols reflected both the urgency of strategic needs and the acknowledgement that exceptional individuals might exist outside Marine ranks, who possessed qualifications that surpassed even the most promising internal candidates. Fujitora's recruitment through the world draft brought to admiral rank an individual whose moral clarity and commitment to justice exceeded even the highest standards traditionally expected from Marine officers. His willingness to challenge world government policies that he believed contradicted fundamental principles of right and wrong, demonstrating courage that went beyond mere physical bravery to encompass spiritual strength of the highest order. His gravity-based abilities provided tactical options that had never before been available to Marine forces. His power to manipulate gravitational fields, creating possibilities for both devastating attacks and precise defensive measures. The blindness that defined Fujitora's physical existence served as powerful metaphor for his approach to justice, his inability to see superficial differences between people forcing him to evaluate individuals based purely on their actions and character, rather than their appearance or social status. This philosophical blindness to irrelevant distinctions made him perhaps the most impartial of all admirals, his judgments untainted by the prejudices and assumptions that could influence even well-intentioned officers who relied too heavily on visual impressions. Fujitora's gambling addiction provided another humanizing element that distinguished him from colleagues whose personal lives remained largely mysterious, his willingness to acknowledge and discuss his weaknesses, demonstrating the kind of self-awareness that enabled honest evaluation of his own limitations and biases. The fact that he consistently lost at games of chance seemed to amuse rather than frustrate him, his acceptance of defeat in trivial matters, perhaps reflecting his understanding that some battles were worth fighting, while others served merely as entertainment. The mission to abolish the Shichibukai system became Fujitora's primary political objective during his tenure as admiral. His recognition that the warlord arrangement compromised Marine moral authority, driving him to pursue policy changes that many within the organization considered impossible to achieve. His success in convincing world leaders to dissolve the system demonstrated sophisticated political skills that complemented his combat abilities, his patient advocacy and careful coalition building, proving as effective as his gravitational powers in achieving strategic objectives. Ryokugu's recruitment as the second World Draft Admiral brought to Marine service an individual whose plant-based abilities and extreme dedication to order represented yet another approach to applying overwhelming force in service of justice, his powers offering unique advantages for both combat operations and crowd control situations that required non-lethal solutions to complex problems. His ability to manipulate plant life on massive scales provided options for area denial, battlefield control, and resource management that had never before been available to Marine forces. The personality traits that defined Ryokugu's approach to admiral duties reflected deep reverence for authority and hierarchy. His explicit admiration for Sakazuki's absolute justice philosophy, demonstrating alignment with the current Fleet Admiral's vision for marine operations that went beyond mere professional loyalty to encompass genuine philosophical agreement. His willingness to take initiative in pursuing what he believed to be Fleet Admiral priorities sometimes created complications when his interpretation of orders differed from their intended scope. The tactical applications of Ryokugu's plant-based powers made him particularly effective in operations that required sustained presence in hostile territory. His ability to sustain himself through photosynthesis and create fortified positions using manipulated vegetation, providing logistical advantages that reduced marine dependence on supply lines and support infrastructure. His combat style emphasized overwhelming opponents through sheer volume of attacks rather than relying on single decisive strikes. His plant constructs capable of regenerating damage and adapting to changing battlefield conditions. The challenges that modern admirals face reflect the evolving nature of threats to global stability, their responsibilities extending beyond simple combat operations to encompass complex political, social, and technological problems that require sophisticated understanding of cause and effect relationships that span multiple generations. The pirates they face possess abilities and resources that would have been unimaginable to earlier generations of marine leaders. Their organizations displaying levels of coordination and strategic planning that challenge traditional assumptions about criminal capabilities and intentions. The relationship between admiral-level power and emperor-level threats represents one of the most significant strategic considerations in current global politics. The recognition that individual admirals can contend with, but not necessarily defeat the most powerful pirates, requiring careful deployment of resources and coordination of multiple high-level assets to achieve decisive victories. The balance of power that exists between these supreme combatants creates situations where direct confrontation might result in mutual destruction rather than clear resolution of conflicts. The psychological burdens that accompany admiral rank reflect the isolation that comes with possessing power, sufficient to reshape islands and eliminate armies. The knowledge that one's decisions carry consequences that affect millions of lives, creating pressure that would overwhelm individuals who lacked absolute commitment to their chosen principles. The public nature of admiral actions means that every deployment becomes a statement about marine capabilities and intentions, their successes and failures subject to scrutiny that extends far beyond military evaluation to encompass political and moral judgment. The symbolic importance of admirals extends beyond their tactical capabilities to encompass their role as living representations of world government authority, their presence in any situation serving to communicate official commitment to particular outcomes regardless of the costs such commitment might require. The fear and respect that their names inspire among both enemies and allies reflects understanding that admiral involvement transforms local problems into global concerns, their intervention carrying implications that reverberate far beyond immediate tactical objectives. The training and development that prepares individuals for admiral responsibilities must address not only combat capabilities, but also political awareness, moral reasoning, and psychological resilience necessary to make decisions that affect entire populations while maintaining personal integrity and organizational loyalty. The selection criteria for admiral rank reflect recognition that raw power alone cannot qualify someone for position that requires sophisticated judgment and unwavering commitment to principles that may conflict with immediate tactical advantages. The future of admiral-level leadership faces challenges that previous generations could never have anticipated: the emergence of new forms of piracy, revolutionary movements with global reach, and technological advances that could render traditional approaches to peacekeeping obsolete. requiring adaptive strategies that preserve core marine values while embracing necessary evolution in methods and capabilities. The individuals who will fill these positions must possess not only unprecedented power, but also wisdom sufficient to apply that power in ways that serve justice, rather than merely demonstrating dominance. The legacy that current admirals leave will influence marine culture and effectiveness for generations, their examples providing templates for future leaders, while their decisions create precedents that will guide organizational policy long after their retirement or death. The balance they achieve between personal conviction and institutional loyalty, individual capability and collective responsibility, overwhelming force and measured restraint will determine whether the admiral system continues to serve as effective guardian of global order or evolves into something entirely different in response to changing world conditions. The Vice Admiral rank stands as perhaps the most crucial yet underappreciated level of Marine Command. These officers serving as the backbone that supports the entire organization's global operations, while maintaining standards of excellence that bridge the gap between field commanders and the supreme authority wielded by admirals and fleet admirals. Their responsibilities encompass everything from regional command of major military installations to specialized operations that require both tactical expertise and political sophistication, their decisions affecting millions of lives across multiple seas, while rarely receiving the recognition that accompanies more visible positions within the hierarchy. Among all vice admirals, none commands greater respect or embodies more perfectly the ideals of marine service than Monkey D. Garp, whose legendary status transcends normal military rankings to occupy a unique position within both organizational culture and global consciousness. His epithet, the hero, reflects achievements that go far beyond conventional military success to encompass actions that literally saved the world from threats that would have reshaped civilization itself. Yet his refusal to accept promotion to admiral rank demonstrates principles that value personal integrity over institutional advancement. Garp's decision to remain at vice admiral level rather than accept the authority and prestige that comes with admiral rank represents one of the most significant acts of principled defiance in marine history. His unwillingness to serve directly under World Noble Command, reflecting moral convictions that the organization has chosen to accommodate rather than challenge. This unprecedented arrangement demonstrates both Garp's irreplaceable value to the Marines and the flexibility that even rigid hierarchical systems must sometimes display when dealing with truly exceptional individuals whose contributions transcend normal expectations. The combat capabilities that earned Garp his legendary reputation operate on a scale that rivals or surpasses those of most admirals. His mastery of haki and physical conditioning, allowing him to contend with the most powerful opponents in the world, using nothing more than his fists and indomitable will. His battles with Gol D, Roger, his role in the defeat of Rox D, Zebek, his casual destruction of mountains during training sessions. All of these feats demonstrate power levels that make his vice admiral rank seem almost insulting to the position's traditional limitations. The training methods that Garp employs reflect his understanding that true strength comes not from devil fruit abilities or advanced weaponry, but from pushing human potential to its absolute limits through dedication and sacrifice that most individuals would consider impossible to sustain. His approach to developing both his own capabilities and those of his students emphasizes practical experience over theoretical knowledge, real combat over simulated exercises, and moral character over technical skill. Garp's relationship with his family creates complex tensions between his duties as a Marine and his responsibilities as grandfather and father, his inability to prevent Ace's execution, serving as tragic reminder that even legendary heroes face situations where their power proves insufficient to protect those they love most. The sight of him restrained during the Paramount War, his grief and rage barely contained as he watched his adopted grandson die before his eyes, revealed depths of human suffering that exist behind the heroic facade that defines his public image. The informal authority that Garp wields within Marine ranks exceeds what his official position would normally allow, his opinions and recommendations carrying weight that influences policy decisions at the highest levels of command. Officers throughout the organization seek his approval and guidance, understanding that his endorsement can advance careers while his disapproval can effectively end them. This influence reflects not just his combat achievements, but the wisdom that comes from decades of service and the moral authority that accompanies consistent dedication to protecting innocent lives. The training of future Marine leaders represents perhaps Garp's most important ongoing contribution to organizational effectiveness. His mentorship of individuals like Kobe and Helmeppo, demonstrating his commitment to ensuring that the next generation of officers possesses both the strength and character necessary to maintain justice in an increasingly complex world. His teaching methods, while often unconventional and sometimes appearing brutal to outside observers, consistently produce officers who combine exceptional capability with unwavering moral conviction. Smoker's evolution from East Blue Captain to G5 Vice Admiral illustrates the kind of career progression that defines Marine excellence. His journey reflecting both personal growth and organizational recognition of exceptional dedication to duty, combined with tactical innovation and moral clarity that distinguish truly outstanding officers from merely competent ones. His white smoke-based Logia abilities provide him with combat capabilities that few pirates can match, while his investigative instincts and refusal to accept easy answers make him particularly effective at uncovering corruption and conspiracy. The transformation that Smoker underwent following his encounters with Luffy in Loguetown and Alabasta revealed the kind of intellectual honesty that allows good officers to become great ones. His recognition that pirates could sometimes serve justice more effectively than Marines, forcing him to question assumptions that had previously guided his understanding of right and wrong. This philosophical evolution, rather than weakening his commitment to Marine principles, actually strengthened his effectiveness by providing him with more nuanced understanding of how to apply those principles in complex situations. Smoker's command of the G5 base places him at the forefront of Marine operations in some of the most dangerous waters in the world. His unit's reputation for accepting misfits and rogues, reflecting his understanding that unconventional problems sometimes require unconventional solutions. The loyalty he inspires in subordinates who might struggle to fit into more traditional Marine units demonstrates leadership skills that go beyond mere tactical competence to encompass genuine care for the individuals under his beast command. The investigative approach that defines Smoker's methodology emphasizes thorough analysis of evidence and careful consideration of all possibilities, rather than accepting the first explanation that appears to fit available facts. His refusal to close cases until he understands not just what happened, but why it happened, making him particularly effective at disrupting criminal organizations that rely on secrecy and misdirection. His pursuit of the Straw Hat Pirates, while ultimately unsuccessful in terms of capture, provided him with insights into the complex motivations that drive individuals to choose piracy over legitimate alternatives. Smoker's relationship with Tashigi adds another dimension to his character, their professional partnership, demonstrating the kind of mutual respect and shared commitment that makes Marine units more effective than the sum of their individual capabilities. His recognition of her expertise in areas where his own knowledge proves insufficient, combined with her trust in his judgment during crisis situations, creates collaborative dynamic that maximizes both officers' strengths while compensating for their individual limitations. The SWORD organization represents perhaps the most significant innovation in Marine operations since the establishment of the Admiral system. This secretive group of officers operating outside traditional command structures to address threats that conventional Marine hierarchy cannot handle effectively. The existence of SWORD reflects recognition that some situations require approaches that official Marine policy cannot endorse, their activities providing necessary flexibility while maintaining plausible deniability for the organization as a whole. X-Drake's role as SWORD captain places him in one of the most dangerous and complex positions within the entire Marine hierarchy. His deep cover assignment requiring him to maintain credible identity as a pirate captain while secretly advancing Marine objectives through intelligence gathering and strategic manipulation of criminal organizations. His success in infiltrating Kaido's crew and gathering information about beast pirate operations demonstrates the kind of sophisticated espionage capabilities that SWORD brings to Marine arsenal. The psychological challenges faced by SWORD operatives reflect the unique demands of their missions, their need to maintain criminal personas, while preserving their fundamental commitment to justice, creating internal conflicts that would destroy individuals who lacked absolute clarity about their core values and ultimate objectives. The isolation that comes with deep cover assignments, the inability to maintain normal relationships or seek support from traditional Marine channels, the constant risk of exposure and execution, all of these factors combine to create pressures that require exceptional mental and emotional resilience. Kobe's involvement with SWORD demonstrates the organization's commitment to recruiting individuals who combine exceptional capability with unshakable moral foundations. His rapid advancement through Marine ranks reflecting both natural talent and the accelerated development that comes from exposure to the most challenging and dangerous assignments available. His mastery of Rokushiki techniques and Haki abilities places him among the most powerful young Marines in the organization, while his unwavering commitment to protecting innocent lives ensures that his strength serves justice rather than personal ambition. The training regimens that prepare SWORD operatives for their unique missions must address not only combat capabilities and espionage techniques, but also psychological conditioning necessary to maintain sanity and moral clarity while operating in environments that constantly challenge both. The selection criteria for SWORD membership reflect understanding that technical skills alone cannot qualify someone for assignments that require absolute dedication to principles that may conflict with immediate survival instincts. Prince Gruss represents the new generation of Marine leadership. His devil fruit abilities and tactical innovations pointing toward future approaches to peacekeeping that may differ significantly from traditional methods while maintaining core organizational values and objectives. His rivalry with Kobe, rather than creating destructive competition, appears to motivate both officers to achieve higher standards of excellence than either might reach independently. The unique challenges facing vice admirals in the modern era reflect the evolving nature of global threats, their responsibilities requiring them to address problems that previous generations of Marine leaders could never have anticipated while maintaining effectiveness against traditional forms of piracy and criminal activity. The rise of the worst generation, the increasing sophistication of pirate organizations, the political complications created by Revolutionary Army activities, all of these factors combine to create operational environments that demand new approaches to old problems. The elite units that operate under Vice Admiral command represent specialized responses to specific types of threats, their unique capabilities, and training, allowing them to address problems that conventional marine forces might struggle to handle effectively. HENA's Black Cage Corps exemplifies this approach, their classified missions and specialized equipment, providing options that regular marine units cannot offer, while maintaining the flexibility necessary to adapt to changing circumstances. The leadership development that occurs at Vice Admiral level prepares officers for potential advancement to admiral rank, while ensuring that those who remain at this level continue to grow in effectiveness and capability throughout their careers. The mentorship relationships between senior and junior vice admirals create networks of professional support that enhance organizational resilience while preserving institutional knowledge that might otherwise be lost when exceptional officers retire or in service. The geographic distribution of vice admiral commands creates a global network of senior leadership that allows the Marine organization to maintain effective presence in every major region, while adapting to local conditions and challenges that require specialized knowledge and approaches. Each Vice Admiral develops expertise in the unique aspects of their assigned region, their understanding of local politics, geography, and cultural factors, making them irreplaceable resources for planning and executing operations in their areas of responsibility. The balance between independent authority and organizational accountability that defines Vice Admiral positions requires sophisticated judgment and deep understanding of marine principles. These officers, needing to make decisions that serve both immediate tactical objectives and long-term strategic goals, while remaining faithful to core values that define the organization's mission and identity. The trust placed in Vice Admirals reflects recognition that effective peacekeeping cannot be micromanaged from distant headquarters, but must rely on the wisdom and integrity of officers who understand local conditions and can adapt general policies to specific circumstances. The personal sacrifices that Vice Admiral rank demands extend beyond the obvious risks of combat and dangerous assignments to encompass the isolation that comes with senior leadership positions, the weight of decisions that affect thousands of subordinates and millions of civilians, and the constant pressure to maintain standards of excellence that inspire others while never allowing personal struggles or doubts to compromise professional effectiveness. The families of Vice Admirals often pay prices that equal or exceed those borne by the officers themselves, their lives shaped by deployments, transfers, and security concerns that prevent normal relationships and stable home environments. The legacy that Vice Admirals leave extends far beyond their individual achievements to encompass the officers they train, the policies they develop, and the examples they set for future generations of Marine leaders, their influence rippling through the organization long after their retirement or death to shape approaches and attitudes that will guide Marine operations for decades to come. The institution's strength depends not just on the exceptional individuals who achieve Admiral or Fleet Admiral rank, but on the consistent excellence of the Vice Admirals who translate high-level policy into effective action, while maintaining the moral authority that legitimizes Marine operations in the eyes of the global population they serve. The relationship between the Marine organization and the various Cypherpol agencies represents one of the most complex and often contentious aspects of world government operations. These intelligence organizations operating according to principles and methods that frequently conflict with traditional Marine approaches to justice and peacekeeping. While both institutions ultimately serve the same masters and pursue the same broad objectives of maintaining global order, their different methodologies and priorities create tensions that have shaped major historical events and continue to influence contemporary operations in ways that most outside observers never fully comprehend. The fundamental philosophical differences between Marine and Cypher Pol approaches to problem-solving stem from their respective organizational cultures and operational requirements. Marines traditionally emphasizing direct confrontation with clearly identified threats, while intelligence agencies operate in shadows where moral clarity becomes secondary to operational effectiveness. This divergence in methods creates situations where the same problem might receive completely different solutions depending on which organization takes primary responsibility. Their conflicting approaches sometimes undermining each other's effectiveness, even when both groups share identical ultimate objectives. The historical development of Marine Cypher Pol cooperation reveals how two organizations with overlapping jurisdictions learn to coordinate their activities while maintaining their distinct identities and operational methods, their relationship evolving through decades of sometimes painful experience that demonstrated both the benefits of intelligence-supported military operations and the dangers that arise when secrecy requirements conflict with military transparency. The lessons learned through this evolution continue to influence current policies and procedures, though many of the most significant examples remain classified decades after the events they describe. The O'Hara incident stands as perhaps the most tragic example of how intelligence assessments can drive military operations toward outcomes that challenge fundamental moral principles. The Cypher Pol investigation that identified the island's scholars as existential threats to global stability, providing justification for the Buster Call that eliminated an entire community in service of preventing theoretical future catastrophes. The Marine officers who participated in this operation found themselves executing orders based on intelligence they were not authorized to evaluate independently, their trust in the judgment of their superiors, creating moral burdens that would haunt many of them for the remainder of their careers. Vice Admiral Saul's participation in the O'Hara operation and his subsequent decision to protect Nico Robin represent the kind of crisis that can occur when Marine officers encounter intelligence-driven missions that conflict with their understanding of justice and their oath to protect innocent lives. His choice to prioritize immediate moral imperatives over broader strategic objectives demonstrated the tension that exists between following orders and following conscience, his actions creating ripple effects that continue to influence Marine Cypher Pol relations decades later. The long-term consequences of the O'Hara incident extended far beyond the immediate tactical success of eliminating a perceived threat. The operation's moral complexity, creating lasting skepticism within Marine, ranks about intelligence assessments that cannot be independently verified or challenged. Officers who witnessed the destruction of an entire community based on classified evidence developed more cautious approaches to intelligence-supported operations, their experience teaching them to demand clearer justifications for extreme actions, even when such demands conflicted with operational security requirements. The integration of CP9 agents into seemingly legitimate organizations demonstrates the sophistication of Cypher Pol infiltration capabilities. Their ability to maintain deep cover identities for years while gathering intelligence and manipulating events according to classified agendas that even high-ranking Marines may not fully understand. The revelation that trusted colleagues like Khalifa, Kaku, and Lucci had been intelligence operatives all along created trust issues that affected not just individual relationships but institutional policies regarding security clearances and information sharing. Rob Lucci's role as CP9's primary operative illustrates how intelligence agencies recruit and develop individuals whose capabilities exceed those of most military personnel. His combat abilities and tactical intelligence making him more dangerous than many Marine officers of equivalent or higher rank. His philosophical approach to violence, treating killing as a necessary tool rather than regrettable last resort, reflects the different moral frameworks that guide intelligence operations compared to traditional military missions. The Enies Lobby operation revealed the extent to which Cypherpol activities could compromise marine operations through compartmentalization of information and competing objectives that were not properly coordinated between organizations, the chaos that followed CP9's exposure, creating situations where Marines found themselves fighting battles they did not fully understand for reasons that had not been adequately explained to them. The aftermath of these events prompted reforms in interagency coordination that continue to influence current operational procedures. The technical capabilities that Cypherpol agencies bring to joint operations include surveillance technologies, infiltration equipment, and information gathering techniques that complement but do not duplicate marine intelligence assets. They're specialized tools providing options for gathering actionable intelligence without the visible presence that traditional marine reconnaissance might require. The sharing of these capabilities with marine units creates opportunities for more sophisticated operations, while also raising questions about the appropriate limits of surveillance activities in democratic societies. The psychological profiles that guide Cypherpol recruitment differ significantly from marine selection criteria. Intelligence agencies seeking individuals who can maintain false identities and execute morally ambiguous missions without compromising their operational effectiveness through excessive emotional attachment to targets or colleagues. This different approach to human resources reflects the unique demands of intelligence work but can create communication difficulties when intelligence operatives interact with Marines who operate according to more straightforward ethical frameworks. The training programs that prepare Cypherpol operatives for their missions include elements that would be inappropriate for traditional marine education. Their curriculum, encompassing deception techniques, psychological manipulation methods, and elimination procedures that prioritize mission success over adherence to conventional rules of engagement. The knowledge that such training occurs creates unease among some Marine officers who question whether their own organization should cooperate with agencies whose methods conflict with fundamental military values. The command structures that govern joint Marine Cypherpol operations reflect compromise between military hierarchy and intelligence compartmentalization. Their arrangements attempting to preserve both operational security and clear chains of responsibility, while acknowledging that some information cannot be shared, even among allies working toward common objectives. These hybrid command arrangements require exceptional diplomatic skills from officers who must coordinate activities without full knowledge of their partner's capabilities or intentions. The legal frameworks that authorize Cypherpol activities operate according to different principles than those governing marine operations. Intelligence agencies enjoying broader authorities and fewer restrictions in exchange for accepting greater secrecy requirements and less public accountability for their actions. This legal divergence creates situations where identical activities might be permissible for intelligence operatives while remaining forbidden for marine personnel, their different authorization, creating opportunities for mission accomplishment that would otherwise be impossible. The oversight mechanisms that monitor Cypherpol performance rely heavily on internal review processes that may not include marine input or perspective. Their classified nature, making it difficult for military commanders to assess whether intelligence support serves their operational needs or advances separate agendas that might conflict with military objectives. The trust that joint operations require must be balanced against healthy skepticism about partners whose methods and priorities may differ from traditional military approaches. The recruitment of former pirates and criminals into Cypherpol ranks represents pragmatic recognition that certain types of intelligence gathering require individuals whose backgrounds and skill sets would make them unsuitable for traditional marine service. Their knowledge of criminal organizations and willingness to operate outside legal constraints, providing capabilities that conventional officers cannot offer. The moral compromises inherent in such recruitment create ongoing tensions with Marine personnel, who may question whether former enemies can truly serve justice or simply pursue personal agendas under official authorization. The technological integration between Marine and Cypherpol systems requires careful balance between information sharing and operational security. Their networks designed to facilitate cooperation while preventing unauthorized access to classified materials that could compromise ongoing intelligence operations or endanger operatives whose identities must remain secret. The complexity of these technical arrangements reflects broader challenges in coordinating organizations with different security cultures and information handling procedures. The budgetary relationships between Marines and Cypherpol agencies affect resource allocation decisions that influence both organizations' capabilities. Their funding arrangements reflecting world government priorities that may not align perfectly with either group's preferred approaches to their respective missions. Competition for limited resources can create institutional tensions that affect cooperation, even when individual officers maintain positive working relationships. The public relations challenges created by Cypherpol activities affect Marine reputation and credibility. Intelligence operations that become publicly known, potentially undermining confidence in military institutions, even when Marines played no direct role in controversial actions. The secrecy that protects intelligence sources and methods can make it difficult for Marine leaders to defend their organization's integrity when associated agencies engage in activities that generate public criticism. The career development patterns that emerge from Marine Cypherpol cooperation create opportunities for officers who demonstrate aptitude for intelligence work, while also requiring careful management to ensure that such collaboration does not compromise traditional military values or create divided loyalties among personnel whose primary allegiance must remain with their parent organization. The skills that prove valuable in joint operations may not translate effectively to conventional military commands, creating challenges for officers whose experience bridges both worlds. The future evolution of Marine Cypherpol relationships must address emerging threats that require unprecedented levels of cooperation, while preserving the distinct organizational cultures that make each institution effective in its primary mission. Their collaboration needing to adapt to changing global conditions without compromising the fundamental principles that guide both military and intelligence operations. The lessons learned through decades of sometimes difficult partnership provide foundation for addressing new challenges that will require both military strength and intelligence sophistication to resolve effectively. The moral education that prepares Marine officers for potential intelligence cooperation must address the ethical complexities that arise when serving justice requires working with individuals whose methods conflict with traditional military values, their training helping them navigate situations where perfect solutions may not exist, and optimal outcomes require acceptance of morally ambiguous means in service of clearly defined ends. The wisdom to distinguish between necessary compromise and unacceptable corruption remains one of the most important skills that senior officers must develop. The institutional memory that preserves lessons learned from Marine Cypherpol cooperation ensures that future generations of officers understand both the benefits and risks of intelligence-supported operations. Their education, including case studies that illustrate successful collaboration, while also highlighting potential pitfalls that must be avoided to maintain organizational integrity and mission effectiveness. The balance between learning from past mistakes and maintaining operational capability requires continuous attention from leaders who understand that perfect security and perfect justice may sometimes prove mutually exclusive. The network of marine bases that spans the world's oceans represents more than mere military installations. These fortresses serve as beacons of order in waters where chaos might otherwise reign supreme, their presence providing both tactical advantages for peacekeeping operations and psychological reassurance for civilian populations who depend upon marine protection to maintain their way of life. Each base reflects the unique challenges and opportunities of its geographic location, their designs and operational procedures adapted to address local conditions while maintaining the standardized efficiency that defines marine excellence across all theaters of operation. Marineford stood for generations as the ultimate symbol of marine power, its imposing architecture and strategic location, making it both practically effective as a command center and symbolically important as a demonstration of world government authority that could be seen and respected by allies and enemies alike. The fortress that dominated the harbor represented centuries of accumulated military wisdom, its defenses incorporating lessons learned through countless conflicts, while its facilities provided everything necessary to coordinate global peacekeeping operations from a single centralized location. The architectural elements that defined Marineford's distinctive appearance served practical as well as aesthetic purposes, the massive walls and towering structures providing defensive advantages while also creating an imposing presence that communicated marine strength to anyone who approached the installation. The careful balance between functional military necessity and inspirational symbolism reflected deep understanding of how physical environments could influence both the morale of defenders and the determination of potential attackers. The daily operations that made Marineford function as the nerve center of global marine activities required coordination on a scale that few organizations could match. Thousands of personnel working in carefully orchestrated harmony to maintain communication networks, supply chains, intelligence gathering systems, and command structures that connected every marine installation across all four seas. The complexity of these operations reflected not just the scope of marine responsibilities, but the sophistication of organizational systems that had evolved over centuries of continuous refinement. The symbolic importance of Marineford extended far beyond its practical military value to encompass its role as the spiritual heart of marine culture, the place where traditions were preserved and transmitted to new generations of officers while policies were debated and refined by the organization's most senior leaders. The ceremonies conducted within its walls, the monuments that honored fallen heroes, the archives that preserved institutional memory, all of these contributed to Marineford's status as more than a military base, but rather a shrine to the principles that guided marine service. The destruction wrought during the Paramount War transformed Marineford from symbol of invincible strength into reminder of the costs that maintaining order could demand. The rubble and ruins that remained after Whitebeard's assault, serving as sobering evidence that even the mightiest fortifications could not guarantee safety when faced with overwhelming force wielded by individuals whose power transcended normal military expectations. The psychological impact of seeing their greatest stronghold reduced to debris affected marine morale in ways that tactical analyses could never fully capture. The decision to relocate Marine headquarters to the former G1 base in the New World represented both practical recognition of changing strategic realities and symbolic commitment to more aggressive approaches to global peacekeeping. Fleet Admiral Sakazuki's choice to move closer to the most dangerous pirates, demonstrating his philosophy that Marines should confront threats directly rather than waiting for problems to develop and spread. This relocation marked a fundamental shift in Marine strategic thinking that continues to influence operational planning and resource allocation decisions. G1's transformation from regional command center to global headquarters required massive infrastructure improvements and personnel adjustments that tested marine logistical capabilities while providing valuable experience in, quote, rapid deployment of resources and adaptation to changing circumstances. The base's proximity to Emperor territories creates both opportunities for immediate response to major threats and risks that headquarters personnel might find themselves directly involved in conflicts that previous generations of marine leaders could observe and coordinate from safer distances. The unique challenges facing the new marine headquarters include environmental hazards that exist throughout the New World, technological requirements for maintaining global communications from a more geographically isolated location, and security concerns that arise from operating in waters where the most dangerous pirates routinely travel and conduct their business. The adaptations necessary to address these challenges have driven innovations in base design and operational procedures that benefit marine installations throughout the world. G5's reputation as a destination for misfits and problem cases reflects both the unique operational environment of its region and the leadership philosophy of commanders like Smoker, who recognize that unconventional problems sometimes require unconventional solutions that traditional marine doctrine might not adequately address. The base serves as a proving ground where officers who might struggle in more conventional assignments can demonstrate their value while contributing to missions that demand creativity and adaptability over strict adherence to established procedures. The personnel assigned to G5 often arrive with disciplinary records or personality traits that make them unsuitable for prestigious assignments. Yet many discover that the challenging conditions and relaxed hierarchical atmosphere allow them to develop their capabilities in ways that more structured environments might inhibit. The transformation that occurs among G5 personnel demonstrates the importance of matching individual characteristics with appropriate operational environments, their success proving that apparent weaknesses can become strengths when properly channeled. The operational procedures that govern G5 activities reflect recognition that effective peacekeeping in the New World requires flexibility and innovation, that rigid adherence to regulations might prevent base commanders enjoying broader discretionary authority to adapt their approaches to local conditions while maintaining accountability for results achieved through whatever methods prove most effective. This balance between autonomy and responsibility creates opportunities for creative problem-solving while preserving organizational coherence and shared standards. The specialized equipment and facilities that distinguish G5 from more conventional marine bases include enhanced medical capabilities for treating injuries that result from encounters with devil fruit users, advanced communication systems that can maintain contact with headquarters despite New World navigation hazards, and detention facilities designed to contain prisoners whose abilities might allow them to escape from standard holding areas. These adaptations reflect practical experience gained through years of operations in uniquely dangerous waters. The relationships that G5 personnel develop with local populations differ from those typical of marine bases in safer regions, their interactions shaped by mutual recognition that survival in New World conditions often requires cooperation between military and civilian authorities that might seem inappropriate in more stable areas. The trust that develops through these relationships provides intelligence networks and logistical support that formal military arrangements alone could never achieve. The training programs conducted at various marine bases reflect both universal standards that ensure organizational consistency and specialized curricula adapted to regional requirements and local threats, their instruction preparing officers for the specific challenges they will face while maintaining the fundamental skills and knowledge necessary for potential transfer to different theaters of operation. The balance between standardization and specialization requires careful coordination between base commanders and headquarters training divisions. Regional marine bases serve as more than military installations by functioning as economic and cultural centers that provide employment, services, and stability to surrounding communities, their presence attracting merchants, craftsmen, and other civilians who benefit from the security and prosperity that marine protection enables. This civilian dimension of base operations creates additional responsibilities for commanders who must consider the broader implications of their decisions on populations that depend upon marine presence for their livelihoods. The architectural variations that distinguish different marine bases reflect both environmental necessities imposed by local conditions and cultural influences from surrounding populations, their designs incorporating practical adaptations while maintaining visual elements that clearly identify them as marine installations. The balance between local adaptation and organizational identity requires sensitivity to cultural concerns while preserving the symbolic authority that uniform appearance provides. The logistical networks that supply marine bases across the world represent one of the organization's most impressive achievements. Their systems delivering everything from basic provisions to specialized equipment across vast distances while maintaining the reliability that effective military operations require. The coordination necessary to manage these supply chains demonstrates organizational capabilities that extend far beyond combat operations to encompass sophisticated understanding of global commerce and transportation. The communication systems that connect marine bases enable real-time coordination of operations that span multiple oceans, while providing commanders with access to intelligence and guidance from headquarters that can influence tactical decisions made thousands of miles away. The technology that makes such communication possible represents significant investment in infrastructure that must be maintained and updated continuously to remain effective against increasingly sophisticated threats. The defensive preparations that protect marine bases from attack include both conventional military fortifications and specialized measures designed to address unique threats posed by devil fruit users, sea kings, and other dangers that exist in the world of One Piece but have no equivalent in traditional military planning. The creativity required to develop effective defenses against such unusual threats has driven innovations that benefit the entire organization's approach to facility security. The intelligence gathering capabilities that marine bases provide include both formal reconnaissance operations and informal information networks that develop through relationships with local populations. Their combined effectiveness giving base commanders understanding of regional conditions that enables proactive responses to emerging threats, rather than merely reactive measures after problems have already developed into crises. The recreational facilities and quality of life amenities that marine bases provide for their personnel reflect recognition that effective military service requires more than professional competence. The morale and psychological well-being of officers and enlisted personnel directly affecting their performance in ways that purely military considerations might overlook. The investment in facilities that support personal development and social interaction demonstrates sophisticated understanding of human factors in military effectiveness. The medical capabilities that marine bases maintain must address both conventional combat injuries and unique conditions that result from exposure to devil fruit abilities, environmental hazards specific to certain regions, and psychological trauma that can result from encounters with threats that exist nowhere else in human experience. The specialized training that medical personnel receive reflects the extraordinary demands placed on those who serve in a world where the impossible routinely becomes reality. The research and development activities that some marine bases conduct contribute to organizational knowledge and capability in areas ranging from new weapon systems to improved training techniques. Their work advancing marine effectiveness, while also providing career opportunities for personnel whose talents lie in technical innovation rather than traditional military operations. The balance between immediate operational needs and long-term institutional development requires careful allocation of resources and personnel. The cultural impact that marine bases have on their surrounding regions extends beyond immediate economic effects to influence local attitudes toward authority, justice, and international cooperation, their presence serving as constant reminder of the broader world beyond individual islands, while demonstrating the benefits that come from participation in global systems of order and mutual support. The future development of marine-based networks must address changing strategic requirements while preserving the fundamental functions that make these installations effective. Centers of regional authority and symbols of world government, commitment to maintaining peace and justice throughout the world. The lessons learned through generations of base construction and operation provide foundation for adapting to new challenges while maintaining the traditions and standards that define marine excellence across every sea and every shore, where their flags fly proudly in ocean winds. The history of marine operations is written in blood, sacrifice, and the terrible choices that must be made when maintaining global order requires actions that challenge the very principles such order claims to protect. These major military campaigns represent moments when the full weight of marine authority was brought to bear against threats so severe that conventional peacekeeping measures proved inadequate, their outcomes shaping not only immediate tactical situations, but the broader political landscape that continues to influence world affairs generations. After the final shots were fired and the last casualties were counted, the O'Hara Buster Call stands as perhaps the most morally complex operation in marine history, an action that saved the world from knowledge that could have destroyed civilization while simultaneously destroying a community of scholars whose only crime was pursuing truth without consideration for its dangerous implications. The archaeological paradise that Professor Clover and his colleagues had created represented humanity's most ambitious attempt to understand its own past. Their research uncovering secrets that powerful forces had spent centuries ensuring would remain buried beneath the weight of official silence and systematic erasure. The intelligence that prompted the Buster Call authorization painted a picture of existential threat that transcended normal considerations of proportionality or civilian protection. The knowledge that O'Hara's scholars were pursuing threatening to unravel foundations upon which global stability depended. The Void Century represented more than historical curiosity. It encompassed truths that could transform humanity's understanding of legitimate authority, righteous governance, and the price that peace had demanded from those who lived through civilization's darkest hours. Vice Admiral Saul's participation in the O'Hara operation demonstrates how good Marines could find themselves implementing policies that conflicted with their fundamental beliefs about justice and protection of innocent life. His initial compliance with orders, reflecting the trust that military effectiveness requires between commanders and subordinates. The gradual realization that dawned upon him as he witnessed the scope of destruction being planned forced him to choose between institutional loyalty and moral conviction. His decision to protect Nico Robin, representing the kind of principled defiance that transforms individual conscience into historical legacy. The scholars who faced annihilation at O'Hara possessed knowledge that they understood could be dangerous. Yet their dedication to historical truth compelled them to continue research that they knew placed them in mortal peril from forces that preferred ignorance to enlightenment. Professor Clover's final transmission, broadcast to the world even as flames consumed his life's work, demonstrated the courage required to speak truth to power, when such truth threatens the very foundations of existing order. The Marines who participated in the O'Hara Buster Call carried psychological burdens for the remainder of their careers. Their involvement in the destruction of an entire community, creating moral injuries that no amount of official justification could fully heal. The sight of burning libraries and dying scholars challenged their understanding of what Marine service meant, forcing them to reconcile their oath to protect innocent civilians with orders that demanded they eliminate people whose only weapons were books and the dangerous ideas contained within them. The long-term consequences of the O'Hara incident extended far beyond the immediate elimination of perceived threats to encompass fundamental changes in how Marines approached intelligence-driven operations and the relationship between military action and civilian casualties. The precedent established by authorizing Buster Call deployment against non-combatants created protocols that would influence future operations while generating ongoing debates about the appropriate limits of Marine authority in protecting global security. The Paramount War represents the largest military operation in recent Marine history, a conflict that tested every aspect of organizational capability while demonstrating both the awesome power that Marines could deploy when circumstances required overwhelming force and the terrible costs that victory could demand from those who served justice's cause. The decision to execute Port Gas D. Ace publicly served multiple strategic objectives while creating tactical challenges that pushed Marine planning and coordination capabilities to their absolute limits. The political dimensions of the Paramount War reflected complex calculations about deterrence, legitimacy, and the symbolic importance of demonstrating that even the most powerful pirates could not escape justice when Marines committed fully to their capture and punishment. The execution of Gold Roger's son would close a chapter of pirate legend while opening another, the death of Ace serving as both warning to potential threats and inspiration for those who saw martyrdom as preferable to submission to authority they considered illegitimate. The logistical preparations required for the Paramount War encompassed everything from coordinating warlord participation to ensuring adequate medical facilities for treating casualties that would result from combat between individuals whose power levels exceeded normal military expectations. The fortress modifications at Marineford, the deployment of specialized equipment designed to contain devil fruit users, the stockpiling of supplies necessary to sustain extended combat. All of these reflected planning on a scale that few military organizations could attempt, let alone execute successfully. The Whitebeard pirates' assault on Marineford demonstrated tactical innovation and strategic coordination that forced Marines to adapt their defensive plans in real time while maintaining the disciplined response necessary to achieve their primary objective of preventing Ace's rescue. The appearance of the Moby Dick and its accompanying fleet within the harbor itself caught Marine defenders off guard. Despite extensive intelligence gathering and preparation, their surprise, demonstrating that even the most careful planning could not account for every contingency when facing opponents of Whitebeard's caliber. The individual battles that occurred throughout the Paramount War showcased the full spectrum of Marine capability, from the overwhelming power displayed by Admirals Akenu, Aokiji, and Kizaru to the tactical expertise demonstrated by Vice Admirals and the courage shown by common Marines who faced opponents whose strength made victory seem impossible, yet who continued fighting because duty demanded nothing less than their absolute best effort regardless of odds. The participation of the 7 warlords added another layer of complexity to Marine planning and execution, their involvement representing both valuable military assets and potential sources of unpredictable complications that could undermine operational success if not managed carefully. The delicate balance between utilizing their capabilities and maintaining command authority over individuals who normally operated as independent agents required diplomatic skills that complemented purely military considerations. The civilian population of Marineford evacuated before combat began, except for one lone cat who would witness events that reshaped the world, represented the human cost of military operations that extended beyond combatant casualties to encompass entire communities whose lives were disrupted by conflicts they played no role in creating. The families of Marine personnel, relocated for their safety, faced separation from loved ones and uncertainty about outcomes that would determine not just individual fates but the future of the organization that provided their identity and livelihood. The medical challenges posed by treating casualties from the Paramount War included injuries inflicted by devil fruit abilities that no conventional medical training could adequately address, the exotic nature of wounds caused by magma, ice, light, and earthquake powers requiring improvised treatments that pushed Marine medical capabilities beyond their intended limits. The field hospitals established to handle the influx of wounded personnel became laboratories for developing new approaches to trauma care that would benefit Marine medical services for years to come. The psychological impact of the Paramount War extended throughout Marine ranks as personnel processed the experience of participating in combat that claimed lives on both sides, while achieving objectives that came at costs higher than many had anticipated when the operation began. The site of Marineford in ruins, the casualty lists that included respected colleagues and admired enemies, the knowledge that such devastation had been necessary to maintain global order, all of these created emotional burdens that would influence Marine culture and individual careers long after physical wounds had healed. The intelligence failures that became apparent during the Paramount War prompted comprehensive reviews of reconnaissance capabilities and analytical processes. The surprise tactics employed by Whitebeard and his allies, revealing gaps in Marine understanding of pirate capabilities and strategic thinking that could have resulted in far worse outcomes, if not for the exceptional skill and dedication of individual Marines who adapted to unexpected circumstances. The political ramifications of the Paramount War influenced global power structures in ways that continue to shape international relations. The demonstration of Marine capability providing reassurance to world government member nations, while simultaneously inspiring revolutionary movements and ambitious pirates who interpreted the destruction at Marineford as evidence that even seemingly invincible institutions could be challenged and damaged by sufficiently determined opposition. The Void Century's shadow falls across every major Marine operation, the systematic suppression of historical knowledge, creating ongoing obligations that place Marines in positions where they must implement policies whose full justification cannot be explained to those who execute them or those who witness their consequences. The burden of maintaining ignorance about humanity's past creates moral complexities that affect every level of the organization, from common enlisted personnel to fleet admirals, who must balance competing loyalties to truth, duty, and the greater good as defined by authorities whose legitimacy depends partly on continued suppression of dangerous knowledge. The Rocky Port incident represents the kind of classified operation that demonstrates Marine capability while remaining largely unknown to the general public whose safety such missions protect. The details of what transpired there, known only to those with sufficient clearance to access reports that may never be declassified, regardless of how much time passes or how circumstances change. The involvement of multiple organizations and the complex political implications of the operation's outcome created precedents that continue to influence interagency cooperation and resource allocation decisions. The gradual revelation of information about the Rocky Port incident through unofficial channels demonstrates how even the most carefully guarded secrets can eventually reach public awareness through the actions of participants whose understanding of classification requirements differs from official policy, or whose personal circumstances create incentives to share information that was intended to remain permanently restricted. The challenge of maintaining operational security while allowing sufficient transparency to preserve public confidence in marine integrity represents an ongoing balance that must be constantly adjusted as circumstances change. The Dressrosa operation showcased marine adaptability when dealing with complex political situations that required coordination between multiple agencies and careful management of international relationships that could be damaged by perceived interference in sovereign internal affairs. Admiral Fujitora's involvement in events surrounding Doflamingo's defeat demonstrated both the benefits and risks of granting senior officers discretionary authority to make tactical decisions based on local conditions rather than rigid adherence to predetermined plans. The civilian casualties that result from major marine operations create obligations that extend far beyond immediate military objectives to encompass long-term reconstruction efforts and support for communities whose lives have been disrupted by conflicts they may not have fully understood or chosen to participate in. The investment required for such reconstruction represents recognition that military victory means nothing if it fails to create conditions that improve rather than worsen the lives of those whom Marines are sworn to protect. The lessons learned from each major operation influence training programs, equipment procurement decisions, and strategic planning processes that prepare the organization for future challenges, while incorporating improvements suggested by analysis of past successes and failures. The institutional memory that preserves these lessons ensures that the sacrifices made by Marines in previous conflicts contribute to enhanced effectiveness in addressing current and future threats to global peace and stability. The evolution of marine tactics reflects both technological advancement and growing understanding of how to coordinate increasingly complex operations that may involve multiple theaters of action, diverse types of opponents, and political considerations that require military planners to balance tactical effectiveness against diplomatic consequences that extend far beyond immediate battlefield results. The sophistication of current marine strategic thinking demonstrates how the organization has grown and adapted while maintaining core principles that define its mission and identity. The human cost of maintaining global order through military force creates obligations that marine leadership must acknowledge and address through policies that support personnel and families affected by service demands, medical care that addresses both physical and psychological injuries resulting from combat exposure, and recognition that the price of peace includes burdens borne by those who choose to serve others at personal sacrifice that extends beyond individual risk to encompass lifelong consequences for themselves and those they love. The bonds that unite Marines extend far beyond mere professional collaboration to encompass the kind of deep personal connections that sustain individuals through the darkest moments of service while providing the emotional foundation necessary for maintaining hope and purpose when duty demands sacrifices that would otherwise prove unbearable. These relationships, forged in the crucible of shared danger and mutual dependence, create networks of support and loyalty that transcend rank, assignment, and even fundamental disagreements about policy or philosophy. The legendary friendship between Monkey D, Garp, and Sengoku the Buddha represents perhaps the most significant personal relationship in marine history, their partnership demonstrating how two individuals with complementary strengths and shared values could influence an entire organization through their example of mutual respect, collaborative leadership, and unwavering dedication to principles larger than personal ambition. Their bond developed over decades of service that encompassed some of the most challenging and dangerous periods in recent history. Their trust in each other's judgment and reliability, creating a foundation for effective leadership that neither could have achieved independently. The early years of their friendship saw them working together as young officers whose different approaches to problem-solving created productive tension rather than destructive conflict. Garp's intuitive heroism balancing Sengoku's analytical wisdom, while their shared commitment to protecting innocent lives provided common ground that sustained their partnership through disagreements that might have divided lesser men. Their ability to argue fiercely about tactics or strategy, while maintaining absolute trust in each other's integrity and dedication, demonstrated the kind of mature relationship that serves as model for all Marines seeking to build meaningful professional connections. The complementary nature of their combat capabilities made them formidable when operating together. Garp's overwhelming physical strength and direct approach to confrontation, working in perfect harmony with Sengoku's strategic intelligence and sophisticated understanding of how to coordinate complex military operations. Their joint campaigns against major threats like the Rox pirates showcased how individual excellence could be multiplied through effective partnership, their combined efforts achieving results that exceeded what either might have accomplished through solo action. The mentorship chains that connect generations of Marines create institutional continuity that preserves both technical knowledge and cultural values, senior officers accepting responsibility for developing younger personnel who will eventually assume leadership roles while maintaining the standards and traditions that define organizational identity. These relationships operate on multiple levels simultaneously, encompassing formal training relationships, informal guidance networks, and personal connections that provide both professional development opportunities and emotional support during challenging assignments. Garp's influence on officers like Kobe and Helmeppo demonstrates how effective mentorship can transform individuals who initially appear unsuitable for Marine service into exceptional officers whose dedication and capability inspire others while advancing organizational objectives. His unconventional training methods, while sometimes appearing harsh or even dangerous to outside observers, consistently produce graduates who combine physical capability with moral strength and tactical intelligence, their success validating his understanding of what true strength requires. The relationship between mentors and students creates obligations that extend throughout entire careers. Senior officers maintaining interest in and responsibility for the development and welfare of those they have trained, long after formal mentorship periods have concluded. The networks that develop through these connections provide unofficial channels for information sharing, career guidance, and mutual support that complement official organizational structures while preserving the personal dimensions that make military service more than mere employment. Sengoku's approach to developing future leaders emphasized the importance of balancing individual excellence with collaborative capability, his students learning not just how to achieve personal success, but how to contribute to collective efforts that accomplish objectives beyond the reach of any single officer, regardless of their individual talents. His influence can be traced through multiple generations of Marines who carry forward his emphasis on thoughtful analysis, careful planning, and moral consideration of the broader implications of tactical decisions. The rivalries that develop between Marine officers often serve constructive purposes when managed properly. Competitive relationships, pushing individuals to achieve higher standards while providing motivation for continuous improvement, that benefits both the competitors and the organization as a whole. These rivalries, when grounded in mutual respect rather than personal animosity, create healthy dynamics that encourage innovation, excellence, and the kind of professional growth that occurs when talented individuals challenge each other to transcend their previous limitations. The relationship between Smoker and other Marines of his generation reflects how shared experiences during critical periods can create bonds that influence career trajectories and operational decisions throughout subsequent decades. Their common understanding of what military service demands, creating foundation for cooperation and mutual support, even when their individual assignments separate them geographically or functionally. The trust developed through successful collaboration during challenging missions provides basis for continued partnership when new opportunities arise. Toshigi's professional relationship with Smoker demonstrates how partnerships between officers of different ranks and backgrounds can enhance both individuals' effectiveness while creating models for successful collaboration that benefit the entire organization. Their complementary skills and shared commitment to justice overcoming potential obstacles created by differences in experience, temperament, and approach to problem solving. Their ability to work together productively, despite occasional disagreements, provides examples for other Marines seeking to build effective professional relationships. The bonds that connect Marines across different specialties and assignments create informal networks that facilitate information sharing, resource allocation, and coordinated responses to emerging threats that might otherwise fall between the jurisdictional boundaries that define formal organizational structures. These relationships enable the kind of flexible, adaptive responses that bureaucratic procedures alone could never provide, their effectiveness depending entirely on trust and goodwill, developed through personal interaction and shared commitment to common objectives. The family traditions that bring multiple generations of the same bloodline into Marine service create unique dynamics within the organization. Relatives who serve together or in succession, carrying forward family legacies, while also navigating the complexities that arise when professional relationships overlap with personal ones. These family connections can provide additional motivation for excellence, while also creating pressure to live up to inherited reputations and standards that may exceed normal expectations for individual achievement. Garp's complex relationship with his son Dragon and grandson Luffy illustrates how family bonds can create conflicting loyalties that challenge even the most dedicated Marines. Personal love competing with institutional duty in ways that test fundamental convictions about where ultimate loyalty should lie when family members choose paths that conflict with Marine principles. The pain that results from such conflicts demonstrates the human cost of serving causes larger than individual relationships while maintaining the integrity that effective service requires. The Marine families who serve together across generations develop traditions and informal knowledge networks that preserve institutional memory while providing continuity during periods of organizational change, their accumulated experience creating repositories of practical wisdom that complement formal training programs and official documentation. The stories they pass down through family lines often contain insights and perspectives that official histories may overlook or minimize, their personal accounts providing texture and context that enhance understanding of how policies and procedures actually function in practice. The friendships that develop between Marines and members of other organizations create opportunities for cooperation and coordination that formal diplomatic channels might not achieve. Personal relationships providing foundation for trust that enables information sharing and collaborative planning, even when institutional interests might otherwise create barriers to effective partnership. These informal connections often prove crucial during crisis situations that require rapid response and creative problem solving. The bonds formed between Marines and the civilian populations they protect reflect the underlying purpose that gives meaning to military service. Their relationships with ordinary people providing constant reminders of why their sacrifices and dedication matter in practical terms that extend far beyond abstract concepts of duty or honor. These connections humanize the work of peacekeeping while providing motivation that sustains Marines through difficult periods when the costs of service seem to exceed its benefits. The international relationships that Marines develop with military personnel from world government member nations create networks of cooperation that enhance global security while promoting understanding and coordination between different national approaches to peacekeeping and law enforcement. These partnerships demonstrate how shared commitment to common values can transcend cultural differences and political boundaries, their success providing models for broader diplomatic and military cooperation. The camaraderie that sustains Marine morale during extended deployments and dangerous missions depends upon the willingness of individuals to prioritize collective welfare over personal comfort or advantage, their mutual support creating psychological resilience that enables continued effective performance, even under conditions that would break less cohesive units. The loyalty that develops through shared hardship creates bonds that often last throughout entire lifetimes, their strength providing comfort and motivation long after formal military service has concluded. The trust that enables effective military operations requires constant reinforcement through consistent demonstration of reliability, competence, and integrity. Marines learning through experience that they can depend upon their colleagues to fulfill their obligations regardless of personal cost or inconvenience. This trust creates the foundation for tactical coordination and strategic planning that assumes individuals will perform their assigned roles competently, even when direct supervision or communication proves impossible. The mutual respect that develops between Marines who serve in different capacities reflects recognition that organizational effectiveness depends upon everyone fulfilling their designated responsibilities with excellence, regardless of whether those responsibilities involve direct combat, logistical support, intelligence gathering, or administrative functions. This respect creates unity of purpose that transcends differences in assignment or perceived importance of individual roles, their shared commitment to collective success, making each member's contribution valuable and appreciated. The emotional support networks that develop within Marine units provide crucial psychological resources for dealing with stress, trauma, and personal challenges that might otherwise compromise individual effectiveness or unit cohesion. Their informal counseling and encouragement often proving more valuable than formal support services because of the deep understanding that comes from shared experience and mutual commitment. These networks demonstrate how professional relationships can evolve into genuine care for colleagues as complete human beings rather than merely functional assets. The loyalty that Marines demonstrate toward colleagues who face disciplinary action or personal difficulties reflects understanding that everyone makes mistakes and encounters challenges that test their character and judgment. Their willingness to provide support and encouragement during difficult periods, demonstrating the kind of compassion that strengthens rather than weakens military effectiveness by ensuring that temporary failures do not become permanent barriers to continued service and growth. The pride that Marines take in their collective achievements reflects individual investment in organizational success that goes beyond mere personal ambition to encompass genuine commitment to institutional excellence and the values that the organization represents. Their satisfaction with group accomplishments providing motivation for continued effort and sacrifice, while creating positive feedback cycles that encourage ever higher standards of performance. The legacy that Marine relationships leave extends far beyond the individuals directly involved to influence organizational culture, operational procedures, and approaches to leadership development that shape how future generations of officers understand their obligations to each other and to the institution they serve. They're examples, providing models that continue to guide behavior long after those who created them have retired or died in service to causes they believed worthy of their lives. The burden of wearing the Marine Seagull upon one's cap represents more than simple military service. It encompasses a commitment to ideals that demand personal transformation, requiring individuals to reconcile their private desires with public duties while navigating the complex moral landscape that defines service to causes larger than individual ambition. The men and women who choose this path find themselves changed by experiences that test every aspect of their character, their journeys revealing both the nobility that military service can inspire and the costs it inevitably demands from those who pursue justice in an imperfect world. Kobe's transformation from terrified ship's boy to respected Marine hero stands as perhaps the most dramatic example of personal growth within the organization's recent history. His journey demonstrating how dedication, proper mentorship, and unwavering commitment to moral principles can enable individuals to transcend limitations that initially seem insurmountable. The timid child who once cowered before Alvida's cruelty evolved into someone capable of standing against admiral-level opponents, his development reflecting not just physical training, but fundamental changes in self-perception and understanding of what courage truly requires. The early stages of Kobe's Marine career subjected him to training regimens that would have broken most individuals, Garp's unconventional methods pushing him beyond normal human endurance, while teaching lessons that extended far beyond mere physical conditioning to encompass psychological resilience and moral clarity. The secret training sessions where he worked with weighted bags that could crush ordinary men demonstrated his willingness to endure extraordinary hardship in pursuit of strength that would enable him to protect others, his determination inspiring even his legendary mentor. The philosophical evolution that accompanied Kobe's physical development revealed someone grappling with complex questions about the nature of justice, the proper role of authority, and the balance between following orders and following conscience that defines mature military service. His encounters with pirates who demonstrated admirable qualities and Marines who displayed troubling behavior forced him to develop nuanced understanding of moral complexity that simple categorization of good and evil could never accommodate. Kobe's mastery of Rokushiki techniques and Haki abilities placed him among the most capable young Marines in the organization, while his retention of compassion and moral sensitivity ensured that his growing power served humanitarian rather than selfish purposes. The combination of overwhelming strength with gentle character created someone who could inspire loyalty through example rather than demand obedience through intimidation. His leadership style reflecting the kind of wisdom that comes from understanding both power's potential and its dangers. The recognition that Kobe achieved through his actions at Rocky Port and other classified operations demonstrated how exceptional dedication could elevate someone from the lowest ranks to positions of significant responsibility within relatively short periods, his rapid advancement serving as inspiration for other Marines, while also creating expectations that he must consistently exceed normal standards of performance and conduct. The pressure that accompanies such recognition tests character in ways that no training program can fully prepare individuals to handle. Tashigi's quest for purpose and strength reflects different but equally challenging aspects of Marine service. Her journey complicated by gender dynamics and personal history that create obstacles beyond those faced by most officers, while her dedication to sword mastery and justice provides focus that enables her to overcome barriers that might otherwise prove insurmountable. Her pursuit of legendary blades serves as metaphor for the broader search for meaning and effectiveness that defines all serious military careers. The technical expertise that Toshigi developed in identifying and evaluating legendary weapons made her invaluable for operations involving criminals who used famous swords, her knowledge enabling tactical advantages, while also providing her with specialized identity within the organization that complemented her combat abilities. The respect she earned from colleagues who initially questioned her capabilities demonstrated how competence and dedication could overcome prejudice and skepticism when consistently demonstrated through professional performance. Toshigi's partnership with Smoker illustrates how mutual respect and complementary skills can create working relationships that enhance both individuals' effectiveness while providing models for successful collaboration between Marines of different backgrounds and temperaments. Their ability to coordinate operations despite occasional disagreements about tactics or priorities demonstrates the kind of professional maturity that effective teamwork requires when lives depend upon seamless cooperation. The internal conflicts that Toshigi experiences between her desire for personal strength and her recognition that individual achievement means nothing without corresponding growth in wisdom and moral understanding reflect broader tensions that affect all Marines who seek to balance professional advancement with authentic personal development. Her struggles with self-doubt and perfectionist tendencies reveal the psychological challenges that accompany serious commitment to excellence in fields where failure can result in tragic consequences. The psychological toll of enforcing absolute justice creates burdens that extend far beyond the immediate stress of dangerous assignments to encompass existential questions about the nature of right and wrong, the appropriate limits of authority, and the price that maintaining order can legitimately demand from both those who serve and those who are served. Marines who operate according to rigid interpretations of duty often find themselves implementing policies that conflict with their personal moral intuitions, their internal struggles reflecting broader societal debates about the balance between security and freedom. The cognitive dissonance that results from witnessing or participating in actions that serve legitimate strategic objectives while causing immediate harm to individuals who may not deserve such treatment tests. The psychological resilience of even the most dedicated Marines, their mental health, depending upon their ability to develop frameworks for understanding complex moral situations that acknowledge both the necessity of difficult decisions and the genuine costs that such decisions impose upon all involved parties. The support systems that help Marines process traumatic experiences and moral injuries vary widely in quality and availability. Formal counseling services, often proving inadequate for addressing problems that arise from exposure to violence and moral complexity that exceed normal civilian experience. The informal networks of peer support that develop within units often provide more effective assistance because of the deep understanding that comes from shared experience with similar challenges. Marines who lose faith in their mission or organization face particularly difficult transitions as they struggle to reconcile years of service and sacrifice with growing doubts about whether their efforts have served legitimate purposes or merely enabled systems that they have come to question. The process of rebuilding meaning and purpose after experiencing such disillusionment requires exceptional personal strength and often benefits from mentorship by individuals who have navigated similar challenges successfully. The rediscovery of faith and purpose that some disillusioned Marines experience demonstrates the resilience of human commitment to ideals that transcend immediate circumstances, their renewal of dedication often stronger and more mature than their original enthusiasm, because it incorporates realistic understanding of both the benefits and costs that service entails. These personal renewals provide inspiration for colleagues who may be struggling with similar doubts and questions. The families that Marines leave behind during deployments and dangerous assignments bear costs that equal or exceed those experienced by the service members themselves, their lives shaped by uncertainty, separation, and the constant awareness that their loved ones face dangers that could result in injury or death at any moment. The strength and sacrifice demonstrated by military families often exceed recognition they receive from either the organization or society at large. The children of Marine families grow up with unique perspectives on duty, service, and the relationship between individual desires and collective responsibilities. Their upbringing, providing them with insights into the demands of military life, while also creating pressure to either follow in their parents' footsteps or explicitly reject the values that military service represents. The choice between continuing family traditions and pursuing independent paths creates complex dynamics that affect both personal relationships and career decisions. The spouses of Marines develop their own forms of strength and independence as they manage households and family responsibilities during extended separations, while providing emotional support for partners who return from assignments, carrying stress and trauma that civilian experience cannot fully comprehend. Their contributions to military effectiveness, through maintaining stable home environments and supporting their partner's psychological well-being, often prove as crucial as any operational capability. The coping mechanisms that Marines develop for dealing with moral ambiguity and psychological stress reflect individual differences in personality, background, and philosophical orientation. Their approaches ranging from compartmentalization and emotional detachment to active engagement with ethical questions and community involvement that provides broader context for understanding their professional obligations. The effectiveness of different coping strategies varies among individuals and circumstances, requiring personal experimentation and adaptation. Some Marines find meaning through rigid adherence to military protocol and chain of command. Their psychological security, depending upon clear hierarchies and unambiguous orders that eliminate the need for complex moral reasoning by transferring responsibility for difficult decisions to higher authorities. This approach can provide stability and reduce anxiety, but may also limit personal growth and moral development that comes from grappling directly with ethical complexity. Other Marines embrace the moral complexity of their work as an opportunity for personal growth and philosophical development. Their engagement with difficult questions about justice, authority, and the proper use of force, leading to deeper understanding of human nature and social responsibility. This approach can provide rich meaning and personal satisfaction, but also creates ongoing psychological stress that requires exceptional emotional resilience to manage effectively. The balance between following orders and following conscience represents one of the most persistent challenges in military service. Marines learning through experience when situations require unquestioning obedience and when they demand independent moral judgment that may conflict with official directives. The wisdom to distinguish between these different types of situations develops gradually through exposure to various scenarios, and often depends upon mentorship from senior officers who model appropriate decision-making processes. Young idealists who enter Marine service with clear moral convictions and strong humanitarian motivations often face disillusionment when they encounter the practical compromises and political considerations that influence real-world military operations. Their survival as effective Marines, depending upon their ability to maintain core values while adapting their expectations to accommodate the complex realities of organizational life in hierarchical institutions. The personal growth that occurs through military service encompasses development of physical capabilities, technical skills, leadership abilities, and moral reasoning that transforms individuals in ways that purely civilian careers rarely match. The intensity and variety of challenges that Marines face, accelerating personal development while also creating risks of psychological damage when support systems prove inadequate or when individuals encounter experiences that exceed their capacity for healthy processing and integration. The sense of purpose that sustains Marines through difficult periods often derives from connection to causes and communities larger than themselves. Their understanding that their individual sacrifices serve collective benefits, providing meaning that transcends immediate hardship while creating motivation for continued dedication, even when personal costs seem to exceed personal benefits. This sense of purpose requires constant renewal and reinforcement through both formal organizational messaging and informal peer support. The integration of personal identity with professional role creates both strength and vulnerability for Marines, their self-concept becoming intertwined with their military service in ways that provide deep meaning and clear direction, while also creating identity crises when circumstances force them to question either their own capabilities or the legitimacy of their organization's mission and methods. The process of developing healthy relationships between personal and professional identities requires ongoing attention and occasional professional guidance. The long-term effects of military service extend throughout entire lifetimes. Former Marines carrying both positive and negative consequences of their service into civilian careers, family relationships, and community involvement that influence their contributions to society long after their formal military obligations have concluded. The skills, perspectives, and connections developed through Marine service often provide resources for continued service in different capacities, while the psychological and physical impacts of military experience may require ongoing management and support. The legacy that individual Marines leave through their service encompasses not just their direct contributions to organizational mission accomplishment, but also their influence on colleagues, their impact on the communities they served, and their example for future generations who will face similar challenges and choices in their own journeys toward understanding what it means to serve causes larger than personal ambition, while maintaining the integrity and humanity that give such service authentic meaning and lasting value. The emergence of the worst generation fundamentally altered the strategic landscape that Marine doctrine had been designed to address. Their unprecedented bounties and coordinated assault on established power structures, forcing organizational leadership to confront the reality that traditional approaches to piracy suppression were proving inadequate against threats that operated according to principles and capabilities that exceeded conventional understanding. These 11 rookie pirates, each commanding bounties that surpassed 100 million berries before even entering the Grand Line's second half, represented a new breed of criminal whose ambitions and abilities demanded corresponding evolution in marine tactics and strategic thinking. The simultaneous appearance of so many exceptional individuals within the same generation suggested systematic changes in global conditions that were producing pirates of unprecedented capability and audacity. Their coordinated timing, implying either remarkable coincidence or underlying forces that marine intelligence had failed to detect and analyze properly. The fact that these pirates emerged from all four seas while displaying similar levels of ambition and power indicated that whatever factors had enabled their development were operating on a scale that transcended regional variations in pirate activity. Monkey D. Luffy's role as the apparent leader of this generation, despite lacking formal authority over his contemporaries, reflected charismatic qualities and philosophical approach to piracy that inspired others while challenging fundamental assumptions about criminal motivation and organizational structure. His rejection of traditional pirate values like treasure accumulation and territorial conquest in favor of adventure and friendship created new models for pirate behavior that marine psychological profiles had not anticipated or prepared to counter effectively. The Straw Hat Pirates' consistent pattern of liberating oppressed populations from corrupt governments and criminal organizations complicated marine responses by creating situations where law enforcement actions against them appeared to serve injustice rather than justice. Their heroic reputation among civilian populations, undermining marine credibility and legitimacy in ways that traditional piracy suppression campaigns had never encountered. The moral complexity of pursuing individuals who consistently protected innocent lives while technically violating international law forced Marines to grapple with questions about the relationship between legal authority and moral legitimacy. Trafalgar Law's strategic intelligence and medical expertise made him a particularly dangerous opponent whose capabilities extended far beyond conventional combat to encompass tactical planning and specialized knowledge that enabled unprecedented approaches to piracy and warfare. His alliance with Luffy demonstrated how cooperation between members of the worst generation could multiply their individual threats while creating combined capabilities that exceeded the sum of their separate strengths, their coordination requiring marine responses that could address multiple high-level threats simultaneously. Eustace Kidd's magnetic powers and violent temperament represented more traditional approach to piracy that emphasized dominance and destruction, his methods creating immediate threats that marine forces could understand and respond to using conventional tactics. While his alliance with Law and Luffy during the Wano operation demonstrated his willingness to cooperate when circumstances required collective action against common enemies. His rivalry with Luffy provided insight into different philosophical approaches to pursuing similar objectives through piracy. The dissolution of the Shichibukai system represented one of the most significant policy changes in marine history. Admiral Fujitori's successful campaign to eliminate the warlord arrangement, forcing the organization to develop new approaches to managing threats that had previously been contained through co-optation rather than direct confrontation. The political maneuvering required to achieve this policy change demonstrated sophisticated understanding of international relations and institutional dynamics that complemented Fujitori's combat capabilities. The immediate consequences of Warlord's system dissolution created chaos, as former government allies became active enemies, while their territories and resources became available for conquest by ambitious pirates seeking to expand their influence and capabilities. The Cross Guilds formation under Buggy's nominal leadership represented innovative approach to organizing former warlords that maximized their collective strength while providing new models for pirate cooperation that marine doctrine had not anticipated. The bounty hunting system that Cross Guild implemented reversed traditional relationships between Marines and criminals by making Marine personnel targets rather than hunters. Their innovative approach to incentivizing violence against government forces, creating precedents that could inspire similar organizations, while forcing Marines to develop defensive strategies that had never been necessary in previous conflicts. The psychological impact of being hunted rather than hunting affected Marine morale and operational procedures in ways that leadership was still learning to address. Buggy's elevation to Emperor status through circumstances rather than personal capability demonstrated how rapidly global power structures could shift when underlying conditions changed. His accidental ascension providing inspiration for other pirates while creating complications for marine strategic planning that had been based on assumptions about the qualifications necessary for emperor-level authority. The disconnect between his actual capabilities and his official status created unique challenges for developing appropriate responses to threats he represented. The Revolutionary Army's increasing visibility and effectiveness posed different but equally significant challenges to marine authority. Dragon's organization demonstrating sophistication in recruitment, logistics, and strategic planning that enabled them to conduct operations on scales that approached those of major pirate organizations, while maintaining ideological coherence and popular support that traditional criminal enterprises typically lacked. Their success in liberating entire nations from world government control created precedents that could inspire similar movements while forcing Marines to develop counterinsurgency capabilities. The Reverie incident that resulted in Cobra's death and Sabo's apparent assassination of the Nefertari monarch created international complications that affected Marine operations by altering relationships between member nations and forcing the organization to address political consequences of intelligence operations that may have exceeded their intended scope. The global outrage that followed these events demonstrated how quickly Marine credibility could be damaged when operations produced outcomes that contradicted stated organizational values. Technological advancement represented another dimension of changing global conditions that required Marine adaptation. The development of new weapons, communication systems, and transportation methods, creating both opportunities and vulnerabilities that traditional military doctrine had not addressed. Vegapunk's innovations in particular forced Marines to reconsider fundamental assumptions about the relationship between scientific progress and military effectiveness, while navigating complex relationships between research priorities and operational needs. The Seraphim project demonstrated how advanced technology could create capabilities that exceeded those of human personnel, while raising questions about the ethical implications of using artificial beings as weapons and the strategic risks associated with deploying forces whose long-term loyalty and behavior patterns remained uncertain. The integration of Seraphim units into Marine operations required new training programs, tactical doctrines, and command structures that could maximize their effectiveness while minimizing potential risks. The Pacifista program's expansion provided Marines with standardized combat units whose capabilities and reliability exceeded those of conventional personnel, while their deployment raised questions about the future role of human combat Marines in an organization that increasingly relied upon technological solutions to operational challenges. The balance between human judgment and mechanical precision became crucial consideration in determining how such units should be integrated into existing command structures. The next generation of Marine leaders faced challenges that their predecessors could never have imagined. Their preparation requiring not just traditional military skills, but also technological literacy, political sophistication, and psychological resilience that could enable effective performance in environments where rapid change was the only constant. The training programs that prepared these future leaders needed to balance preservation of core organizational values with adaptation to evolving operational requirements. Kobe's development into a leader capable of using observation haki to coordinate humanitarian rescues during large-scale conflicts demonstrated the kind of capabilities that future Marines would need to develop. His ability to perceive and respond to threats while maintaining focus on protecting civilian lives, providing models for integrating advanced personal abilities with traditional military objectives. His example inspired other young Marines, while creating expectations for exceptional performance that not everyone could meet. Helmeppo's growth from spoiled brat into competent officer illustrated how proper training and mentorship could transform individuals whose initial characteristics seemed unsuitable for military service, his development providing hope for rehabilitation programs, while demonstrating the importance of identifying and nurturing potential that might not be immediately apparent. His partnership with Kobe created examples of effective collaboration between individuals with different strengths and backgrounds. The Sword organization's expansion and increased visibility reflected Marine recognition that some threats required responses that operated outside traditional legal and procedural constraints. Their effectiveness depending upon maintaining plausible deniability while achieving objectives that conventional operations could not accomplish. The moral complexity of authorizing such operations required senior leaders to balance immediate tactical needs against long-term institutional integrity. The philosophical debates about absolute justice versus more flexible approaches to law enforcement intensified as Marines encountered situations where rigid application of regulations produced outcomes that contradicted the humanitarian values that supposedly justified their authority. The development of alternative justice philosophies within Marine ranks created healthy diversity of thought, while also threatening organizational cohesion if disagreements became too pronounced. The approaching final war that ancient prophecies suggested would determine the world's future required Marines to prepare for conflicts that would test every aspect of their capabilities, while potentially forcing them to choose between loyalty to current institutions and commitment to principles that transcended any particular government or authority structure. The possibility that their own organization might be transformed or eliminated in such a conflict created existential uncertainties that affected planning and morale. The legacy systems that had governed global politics for centuries showed increasing signs of strain as technological progress, social change, and individual ambition combined to create pressures that existing institutions might not be able to contain or redirect constructively. Marines found themselves defending an order that many citizens of member nations were beginning to question, their effectiveness depending partly upon their ability to adapt institutional purposes to changing social expectations. The young Marines who would inherit responsibility for maintaining peace in whatever world emerged from current conflicts needed preparation that encompassed not just military skills, but also wisdom about the relationship between power, responsibility, the importance of moral authority in legitimizing the use of force, and the necessity of adapting methods while preserving values that gave their service authentic meaning and lasting significance. The balance between maintaining tradition and embracing necessary change represented ongoing challenge for Marine leadership as they sought to preserve institutional identity and effectiveness while adapting to circumstances that required new approaches to old problems. Their success in achieving this balance would determine whether the Marine organization continued to serve as effective guardian of global peace or evolved into something entirely different in response to forces beyond their control. The measurement of success in addressing these challenges extended beyond simple tactical victories to encompass broader questions about whether Marine actions contributed to the creation of a more just and peaceful world or merely preserved existing systems that might no longer serve the legitimate needs of the populations they claimed to protect. Their effectiveness ultimately depending upon their ability to earn and maintain the trust and respect of those whose safety and freedom depended upon their continued dedication to service. And so we reach the end of our journey through the vast halls of Marine headquarters, past the training grounds where young recruits learn to carry justice on their shoulders, beyond the offices where impossible decisions are made in service to peace. The Marines stand as they always have, imperfect guardians of an imperfect world, carrying burdens that would break lesser souls, Some serve with unwavering faith, others with growing doubt, but all united by the belief that order must prevail over chaos, that someone must stand watch while the world sleeps. Their story continues beyond our telling, in bases scattered across every sea, in the hearts of those who've sworn to protect what they hold dear. Whether as pillars of righteousness or instruments of control, they remain the world government's faithful servants, their white coats billowing in ocean winds, their resolve tested by every dawn. Rest now, gentle dreamer, knowing that somewhere in the darkness, Marines keep their eternal vigil. Let their dedication to duty, however flawed, however costly, remind you that some choose to bear the weight of the world so others might dream in peace.